Board of Commissioners. Audience members, I want to start by asking you to please silence your electronic devices. I would also like to remind you that in addition to the audience in this room, we have people watching and listening online, so please consider your language in comments and testimony today. Today's meeting is a hybrid board meeting. Some presenters and guests will appear in person and some will appear virtually. For those presenting virtually, please mute your mic when not speaking, and when presenting, make sure to unmute your mic and turn on your camera. For those joining us in person to provide public testimony or present, please turn your mic on when you begin speaking so the green light is showing, and off when you've completed your remarks so the red light is showing. And for all presenters, please state your name for the record before speaking or responding to questions. May I have a motion on the consent calendar?
Second.
Commissioner Singleton moves, Commissioner Moyer seconds. Approval of the consent calendar. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The consent calendar is approved.
Opportunity for public comment on non-agenda matters. This is a time for the board to hear public testimony, not for board deliberation. When it is your turn to speak, I will call your name and unmute you or call you to the presenter's table. I will set a timer for 3 minutes when you begin speaking and announce when your time is up, at which point please wrap up your sentence. We have 7 people signed up for verbal testimony and received 70 written testimonies, which were shared with board members and staff. I'm going to call up first Lance Orton, Melissa Lookingbill, Monty McMullen, and Dina Feldis.
Good morning. You can go ahead and begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair Vega Peterson and Commissioners. My name is Lance Orton. I serve as the Executive Director of City Team Portland. I'm Vice President of the Central East Side Together Board and Vice Chair of the Old Town Community Association, also a member of Sober PDX, and a graduate of the City Team Portland Recovery Program, as many of you know. It sounds so pretentious. I'm here today in strong support of Commissioner Megan Moyer's Recovery Housing Voucher Pilot. I want to speak to this not just as a service provider, but as someone who has lived it. In 2018, I was on the streets of this city, struggling with addiction and without stability. What changed my life was not just treatment and not just shelter. It was being brought into a structured, community-based recovery environment where I had both accountability and belonging. That combination is what allowed me to rebuild my life. Today, through City Team Portland, I've had the privilege of watching that same transformation happen every day, but I can also tell you where the system breaks down. We regularly encounter individuals who are ready for change, sometimes through deflection, sometimes through treatment, and sometimes through outreach, but we don't have enough appropriate places to send them. Just as importantly, we are graduating men and women from our programs, and our partners are graduating individuals across the system, yet there are not enough recovery housing beds for them to step into. We are making meaningful investments in treatment, but the transitional recovery housing capacity has just not kept pace. Recovery housing fills that gap. It is one of the most efficient and impactful tools we have. It leverages shared living environments to serve more people with the same investment, while also creating a culture of accountability, peer support, and forward momentum. It does not just stabilize someone for a night, it helps them move towards employment, reunification with family, and long-term independence. From a systems perspective, this is one of the only models that meaningfully intersects homelessness response, behavioral health, and public safety. If we are serious about deflection and long-term outcomes, we must invest in the environments that actually sustain recovery. Commissioner Moyer's proposal does exactly that. It is targeted, it is practical, and it allows Multnomah County to demonstrate measurable outcomes in a space where we already know success is possible. I would also emphasize the importance of prioritizing families. When we create pathways for families to recover, we are not just changing individual lives, we are changing generational trajectories. This pilot represents an opportunity to align our investments with what works and to build a system that does not stop at treatment, but carries people all the way through to stability. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Good morning. And don't forget to hit the button on the mic.
Hello, good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Monty McMullen. I've struggled with addiction for a long time. I've been in and out of prison because of it. My last relapse almost costed me my life. I ended up in the hospital with endocarditis from my IV drug use, which is most likely will kill you faster than HIV, faster than Hep C. It's a heart infection in one of my valves. When I was discharged from the hospital, I was given the opportunity to go directly from the hospital into Iron Tribe Network housing, and that changed my life forever. Instead of going back to the same environment, homeless in a car or on the streets, I went straight into a safe place, a stable place, where recovery was the focus. My partner joined me there, and not long after we found out we were going to have my first child, a baby girl, in June. That gave me a whole new reason to stay on track. Having those first few months of housing covered was literally the bearings that made a huge difference in my life. It gave me a time to be stable, enroll in outpatient treatment, and start building a routine, getting a focus and a better life. Honestly, I don't know what I would have done without the opportunity. I don't know if I really would have made it. I don't know if I'd be here today talking to you guys. Today I am focused on staying sober, being a great partner, getting ready to be a father. Recovery and housing didn't just save my life, it gave me a chance to have a different life. Things that I've struggled with my whole life, I'm really blessed to have Iron Tribe on my side. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. We ready? Okay, good morning, Chair Vega Pedersen and Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Dina Feldes. I am the Executive Director of Transcending Hope, a woman in long-term recovery of over 22 years, and a mom of 6 children in recovery, who some are also in recovery from substance use disorders. Prior to my recovery, my story includes sleeping in vacant apartments, 1 son incarcerated at the age of 12, 4 children in DHS custody, and a DHS case that lasted almost 10 years for 2 of those children, and a 6th child who has never seen me drink or use. If I had not been provided housing options when I got into recovery, I would not have ever been able to accomplish what I have done up to this point and where I sit now in front of you. As a recovery housing provider, Transcending Hope has 30 locations across the Tri-County area, 11 which reside in Multnomah County. Transcending Hope serves the community as a NAR certified affiliate with multiple service models because we need a mix of options to meet the needs of our diverse communities. Transcending Hope provides culturally specific Latino housing, housing with IOP through FORA, bridge beds, those are emergency placements, family housing, housing for aid and assist community restoration, men and men with children, women and women with children, and self-paid models. Some of these are fully funded programs we create to include peer case management and wraparound services through community-based organizations and support best outcomes for recovery and sustainability. In 2025, Transcending Hope served over 587 community members. As stated previously, our programs usually have a wait list, except for our bridge beds, which provide emergency placements. In 2024, we were awarded funds through SB 1530. Through these funds, we purchased 2 locations in your partner counties, and we set up 5 locations, which are still sustaining to this day. We partnered with CBOs such as Cascadia, Fora Health, Peer Company, demonstrating what partnerships and direct access to housing and services can deliver to our community members seeking recovery. Recovery housing is a necessity to create a family-like environment to share space, to focus on recovery, connect, build community, find purpose, while tackling some of the most daunting, traumatic experiences that we deal with when we get to recovery. This pilot will show how providing access to recovery housing can create a recovery ripple effect that gives life to families and communities. We do recover. That is why I ask you to support Commissioner Moyer's $1.8 million proposal to create a recovery housing voucher pilot. Thank you
so much. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Melissa Lookingbill. I'm a mother of 4 children. I worked as a certified recovery mentor for 5 years and had built a stable, meaningful, and happy life for myself and my children. I had 5 years of sobriety and a strong sense of purpose. Then everything changed. My partner died suddenly, And just 1 month later, my father also passed away from complications related to substance abuse disorder. The grief was overwhelming. I returned to use and my addiction escalated quickly. I lost everything, my job, my home, and the life that I'd worked so hard to build. In order to keep my children safe, I made the painful decision to send them away to live with their fathers. I ended up on the streets using hardcore drugs and became involved in an abusive relationship. During this time, I became pregnant. While pregnant, I was staying in a homeless shelter. I went into labor there and was 5 days clean at the time. After giving birth, child welfare came into the hospital room and told me that I could not return to the shelter with my newborn. They said it was not a safe or appropriate environment due to the lack of supervision. Even with my background as a CRM and my previous 5-year sobriety, I felt completely lost. I did not know how to get myself out of the situation I was in. I could not see a path forward. Without my knowledge, a former coworker reached out to Project Patchwork and asked them to help me. While I was in the hospital, Project Patchwork showed up for me. They told me that they had a room available in their mother and children home, and a clean and sober environment where I could live with my baby free of charge for up to 6 months. They explained that they worked closely with child welfare to create safety plans that they would support me in my recovery, my parenting, and rebuilding my life. There I have changed my life. I now work as a peer recovery mentor. And also I wanted to add, this last November on Thanksgiving, my teenage son, he committed suicide. He jumped off the St. John's Bridge, and without having this kind of support in my life, I would have went back out. Sorry, I'm really nervous to talk in front of everybody, but I feel like it's really important to share that. It's very important for our community. Thank you.
Next, we have Holly Walker, Ann Casper, and Lightning.
Hi, good morning. You can go ahead and begin.
Oh, thank you. My name is Holly Walker. I work with a program called Harbor of Hope LLC and also Lighthouse Pathways Recovery LLC. We are a drug and alcohol treatment program. I actually am a graduate. I graduated back in November. I was homeless. I, at one point, was living in my car with 6 dogs because I wasn't able to get them to safe homes. And I fell deeper into my addiction. I was diagnosed with heart failure about 2 years ago. Instead of making my life better, every time I would check myself into the hospital, I would come into a situation where they would take my animals and put them into the pound. And so I would check myself out of the hospital and continuously go back and forth until I eventually died and ended up in a coma. When I got out of the hospital, I had to learn how to walk, talk, eat, and my heart was at 20%. They told me I was probably not going to live. But that instead of deciding not to change my life, I ended up changing my life. I made a decision to check myself into treatment after I got out of physical rehab, and I went directly to Harbor of Hope. Because of the availability in the recovery homes, I was able to take my animal with me. I have 2 dogs now. They're my service animals. But because the programs that were available and the recovery housing that was available during the treatment program, I was able to get clean, and now I'm currently working as a CRM, and I'm applied for my CADCR, so I'm working in the field, and I'm helping people help themselves. And because of the resources and because of the way that it was so available to me during my treatment program, I now have my own housing, and because of the resources that are available, they're very limited, and we would like to be able to serve more people and help people with their recovery and put them into homes after they graduate. Right now, we're facing wait lists and problems where the client may become homeless if they're not able to work due to health reasons or due to their situations that they've occurred because of their addiction. but because of the getting records expunged, because of the programs that people are able to help, and that the programs that do take the sacrifice, and a lot of the programs pay out of pocket for things when they can't afford it, and that's where the resources for the housing are so significantly needed. So we can provide that for the clients after they graduate the program and become alumni, and when they have jobs, and so they don't have to worry about being homeless. So the vouchers, I feel like, would be very beneficial to those clients so they don't go back out on the streets and use. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Ann Casper. I'm a student at University of Oregon at Immersive Media Communications. I was going to talk to you about my trip to Washington, D.C. with the Health Information Technology people. It was wonderful. I got to meet the commissioner. It's nonpartisan, and we can do some good work there. But I just found out a program I went through in 2006 is being cut. And I'm also invited to the National Self-Directed Services Convention in a few weeks to speak about this program, and now I'm going to tell them that our commissioners cut the program. It's a $616,000 program. It's been going since 2005. It's called Self-Directed Services Through New Narrative. In 2011, when the last director was there, they got $538,000, and in 13 years, you raised it $22,000 in 2024 to $616,000. So it's really not a lot of money. They have a staff of 4, and they have 40 people who go through self-directed services. It's well known in the country because it's one of the mental health self-directed services in the country. That's why they asked me to come and speak about it. Self-directed services, you don't know, you get about $3,000 for 1 year, but it's more than that. I had come out of being civilly committed, couldn't talk, on 8 different drugs forced on them, and what they do is they give you a life plan. They help you with people supporting you, the staff, and if you have family, the family, and you make that plan, and the money goes directly to that plan. Now, somebody I just heard was on PSRB, Psychiatric Review Board, now is going for LSAT. She actually went to PSU through this. So you have actually helped over 800 people in the last 20 years. I want to say thank you for that. I'm one of them. I'm really sad that I have to be embarrassed to tell a national audience that Multnomah County is ending this program, because it's the best thing in Oregon in mental health. And so we want to solve the mental health problems before they go to addictions, of course. And as I've been telling you, our mental health advocacy has been cut down over the years. I don't have a bunch of people behind me because they don't know how to advocate. And I'm hoping that you help with that. And I also hope that I don't know if there's any hope for this program. It's too late for me to go out and look for private funding. Any hope for this program to save it, you'll be saving lives through it. 2 people are going to lose their housing on June 30th because they get a subsidy of $43200 each a month. And this helps them with their housing, and now it's going to be cut off on June 30th. So I know you don't always know about the good mental health programs. This is one of them. This actually needs to be replicated more in the country, and again, that's why they're asking me to come speak. And if it goes away, it goes away. We'll start it again because it really works. It helps humans, and let's keep us all healthy as we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Yes, my name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Super Abundance. We the people, for all the people. Pegasus Griffin AI Lab. Now, when we're talking about the Moda Center, to make it very clear to the commissioners and the chair, we own that. We the people, for all the people. Now, when I walked up to the Moda Center the other day, you still have on the windows, this is a private building. No, it's not. We, the people, own that Moda Center, and I want those signs taken down within 7 days, or I will have an attorney come in and advise you to do that immediately. Again, I want to have ACLU step in and make sure that all the rights are respected for the public. When I'm up in the common areas, it's not private anymore. Don't tell me I can't be on that property anymore. We, the people, own it. time, place, and manner. And when I go up there to check on my employees to make sure they're doing a good job and they're respecting the public, they better do it or they're going to get fired immediately. We, the people, own that Moda Center. We are in control of it. It is our space, freedom of speech, to do our protests, and don't tell us what the hell to do on the common areas when we're up there. It's our property. Now, moving on from that. Basically, as you know, Intel has joined Elon Musk, the greatest innovator of all times. People can say yes or no on that. Now, again, as the people know, we the people bought 422 million shares. Our shares have already gone up $7 billion for we the people. Now, when Elon Musk bought in, those shares are going to continue to go up like we've never seen before. Now, my position on the national debt was we invested into these companies, then we pulled our money back out on what we invested and left our profits in. We'd have no national deficit right now if you listened to me. There'd be no national deficit. But you don't listen to me. And that's why we have that $37 to $38 trillion that is on the back of we the people, to where they can't even move anymore, because all you want to ever do right now is just tax and tax and tax them. So again, watch Intel very close. Intel is going to take off like a rocket ship, And again, I would highly recommend to anybody in the public to invest in SpaceXAI when he does his IPO in the next 3 months. It will be the most valuable company on planet Earth, and we the people deserve to be in the middle of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all for public testimony. We will now move to R1. R1, resolution consenting to Chair Vega Peterson's appointment of Nathaniel Vergao as the Director of the Homeless Services Department.
May I have a motion? Second. Commissioner Brim Edwards moves, Commissioner Moyer seconds, approval of R1. So I am very excited to bring forward the appointment of Nathan Vergao as the county's new Homeless Services Department Director. Nathaniel was selected to fill this important role for the county and our community after an extensive search which drew over 100 local and national candidates. While there were many qualified candidates, Nathaniel stood out because he brings substantial expertise from his time at the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, or LAHSA, where he most recently served as Deputy Chief Program Officer. The initiatives he led there have consistently been grounded in the principles of racial equity, harm reduction, and inclusive engagement with diverse stakeholders. He understands the full continuum of prevention, services, shelter, and housing services that people experiencing homelessness most benefit from. Importantly, he developed this expertise through both leadership roles and years of direct service experience in the field. Pending approval from this board, Nathan will start as the HSD Director on May 4th. I'll now pass to Sarah Morrissey, Deputy COO, to provide more details regarding this appointment. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you so much, Chair Vega Peterson. Good morning, Board of Commissioners. I am Sarah Morrissey, one of your Deputy Chief Operating Officers at Multnomah County, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm pleased to join you this morning to provide background on the appointment of Nathaniel Vergao as the Permanent Director of Homeless Services. We believe he is the ideal candidate for the critical role, and following my remarks on his background, he will share some short comments regarding his interest in the role. Nathaniel emerged, as the chair spoke about, from a national search of 110 applicants. He has extensive experience in leading the homeless services system in Los Angeles County, where he served as the Deputy Chief Program Officer at LAHSA. His achievements at LAHSA highlight his unique strategic skills. He managed hundreds of employees and directed a strategic redesign of programs and systems. This work strengthened capacity by managing new funding and increasing shelter beds, improving performance management and oversight, and fostering a culture of data-driven decision-making, including the introduction of new progress dashboards. He has done the work that Multnomah County is working towards at a larger scale and for many years. As the chair stated, Nathaniel also brings direct frontline experience as a case manager, housing, and outreach manager. He's deeply committed to ensuring access not only to affordable housing, but to the support services people need to access. He holds a Bachelor's of Art from Hamilton College and a Master's of Public Health from San Francisco State University. When he's not working, Nathaniel enjoys cycling, gardening, and most importantly, spending time with his family. His wife and 3 children, one of who is finishing her junior year of college, and twins who are graduating from high school this upcoming May. In the past 2 weeks, I've appreciated his broad program development experience, his proven ability to work closely with elected officials, and his thoughtful approach to the challenging and complex field of homelessness. We're confident that Nathaniel's expertise and values align with Multnomah County's mission, and we're excited to welcome him. I now invite you to hear directly from Nathaniel.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Vega Peterson, and good morning, Board of Commissioners. I'm Nathaniel Vergao. I use he, him pronouns. I'm excited and humbled by the opportunity presented to me with this appointment today. I've been passionately working to address homelessness for more than 20 years now, and look forward to bringing my experience from other communities to bear here in Multnomah County. I'm also acutely aware that I have a lot to learn about the specifics of the department, the service providers, and the local communities. I look forward to working with the Commission as we are entering a period of budget constraint, and will be working with the department and our provider partners to identify opportunities to both increase efficiency and improve oversight, to ensure that we are reducing service duplication and improving outcomes while ensuring that services are responsive to the needs of the participants. I've done similar work at LAHSA, resulting in significant increases in shelter and rapid rehousing utilization, and look forward to working with your teams as we review operations for the department. In addition to working with the City of Portland, I look forward to supporting East County Portland and working closely with the cities of Gresham, Wood Village, Fairview, and Troutdale to ensure coordination of outreach services and generally equitable access to services across the county. And finally, on a personal note, I'm excited to move to Multnomah County. My wife and I have been planning our new life as empty nesters for the past 3 years, and I'm excited to build that life here. Thank you again for this opportunity, and I look forward to working closely with all of you.
Thank you so much, Nathaniel. We'll have questions or comments from the board in just a minute, but we do have public testimony for this item, so if you and Sarah wouldn't mind just sitting in those chairs right behind there. Emily?
We have Thomas Busey virtually, and then Lightning. Tom, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, I think can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Good morning, my name is Thomas Busey. I'm the treasurer of the Libertarian Party. I'm familiar with Los Angeles because I own a condo in Long Beach at the end of the Blue Line where they frequently dump people on my doorstep. LAHSA is basically the city-county Los Angeles version of the joint office, and it has all the dysfunction. And in the wake of a scathing March 2025 audit of LAHSA, the County of Los Angeles pulled $300 million out of that agency, in fact, impacting Mr. Vergao's programs. This audit was ordered by a federal court after local officials ignored problems for years, including $4.9 billion in fund diversion and the loss of records for over 1,400 rental subsidies. Just last month, it was revealed that 48% of LAHSA sheltered residents returned to homelessness. In his role as acting chief programs officer in 2023, Vergao personally signed off on numerous contracts to Abundant Blessings LLC and another nonprofit run by Alexander Sufer, with whom Mr. Vergao cultivated a relationship between 2018 and 2025. This resulted in $23 million flowing into Sufer's personal coffers, which were used to purchase a yacht, a vacation property in Greece, a Westwood home, private jet flights to Maui resorts, donations to Gavin Newsom, and high-rolling vacations to Vegas. Mr. Vergao was responsible for the program integrity controls and looking into red flags, and according to an indictment released only this January after Multnomah's search process, Sufer's bookkeeper revealed he had approached LAHSA and Mayor Karen Bass, who both failed to investigate it, at which point she had to go to the feds, which is the only reason why we know about the fraud, waste, abuse, and corruption. Knowing that Lhasa is losing its county funding, they tried to cover up the extent of the pay-to-play by removing the leadership page from their public-facing website and failing to comply with public records requests ordered by Cal Matters, which is a respectable journalistic outfit, and we already know how Multnomah County has a personal disdain for public records requests in the state. And due to the falling out of the 2025 audit, they refused to release their current financials, and LA County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath is calling on a forensic audit of the programs, the very ones run by this appointee. And it appears that he seems to be jumping a sinking ship, and I would ask the county commissioners to ask probing questions about to what extent was he responsible for the problems at Lhasa. Many thanks.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, my name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Super Government Watchdog. Following this individual's speech, if what he is saying is fact, you couldn't possibly appoint this individual. Now again, I'm saying if it is fact, so as of today, you can't appoint this individual. You're going to have to review everything that was stated before you make your final determination. Plain and simple. Now, pushing that issue to the side until it's revealed that it is fact and truthful, again, talking about the homeless services, again, my biggest issue has been that I used to work on the affordable housing bond at the city of Portland, me and Commissioner Salzman at the time, and pushed that through first. And then we moved to Metro, pushed that through with President Hughes, which I had a discussion with him on the balcony, and he was going to pull that whole deal, shut it down. His comment to me is, at Metro, we really don't handle this. We've got the hotel going on and Lightning, I'm probably going to shut it down today. And I said, I want you to listen to me real fast. You see all the workers at that hotel? That bond isn't just about the homeless. It's about the construction workers. He named off every amount of worker that would be over there instantly. And he said, I want to see you in the meeting today. And he pushed that through. And that was his last ending term. That would not have gone through if he didn't see the benefits of having that affordable housing bond. And again, Metro followed the trail of Portland on that. And I was right in the forefront with Commissioner Salzman, right at him saying, you need to pass that. Again, he was getting ready to leave. I said, just get a yes or no vote. What do you have to lose, Commissioner Salzman? And he pushed it through. That was $1 billion toward the homeless. Now, what we need to do is begin to get another affordable housing bond on the table, some way, somehow. And I think Multnomah County should take the lead on this. I really do. Roll out a number, $250 million. How about $500 million? How do we feel right now in the economy? Where's that going to be when you roll this out? What do you think about the people approving this? You have to make that judgment call. Again, what do you all have to lose? You get a yes or a no. Go for the affordable housing bond. And again, do not move forward on this until we know this is fact or not.
Thank you. All right. I'll invite Sarah and Nathaniel back up to the dais, and we'll go to the board for any questions and comments. We'll start with Commissioner Brim Edwards.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to start by just thanking the County Commission staff for running this process. I know that we had a very lengthy process, and for and given the importance of this position, I want to just thank you for bringing forward qualified candidates to help the county move forward. So thank you to the commission staff. Good morning. Thank you for considering this opportunity. I was would like you to respond, if you care to the issues that were raised in the previous testimony.
Gladly. Oh, sorry, didn't realize, yes. The agency that Alex Super led was named Abundant Blessings. And LAHSA actually was the agency that uncovered the fraud that was happening at that agency and reported it to the district attorney. It was our compliance department that saw the irregularities in some of their billing, and more specifically in the questions about properties that were owned and improvements that were being made at the properties and by whom. This agency received funding directly from the County of Los Angeles, directly from the City of Los Angeles, as well as through LAHSA, and it was our agency that uncovered the issues and brought it to light. And so, yes, we were funding that agency. Yes, we discovered the issues, and yes, we brought it to the authorities for it to be dealt with appropriately. And as quickly as we could, we also cut ties with that agency, moving all of our programming to other providers in the area, including taking on some of the supervision of case management directly through some of our staff, because we weren't able to identify providers who were able to manage the capacity completely. So we had our staff providing case management for clients in Rappareed Housing for 2 months while we were able to onboard providers, just to ensure that there was no disruption of service for the participants in that transition.
Thank you. Looking back at the response, do you think it was adequate?
I absolutely wish we had discovered the issue sooner. I think hindsight is always 20/20, and we have at LAHSA taken to heart the issue that we did miss it in prior monitoring. So yes, we've learned and improved our monitoring. We, in fact, actually, as an entity, LAHSA just hired a chief risk officer to restructure how we manage risk management within the agency. Both, as was mentioned in the comment, to ensure that Public Record Acts requests are completed in a timely fashion and within the bounds of the law. But also to ensure that the monitoring that is happening is appropriate and is followed up with assessment of risk at each of the agencies, and that we are now incorporating those risk assessments into contracting decisions. So lessons have been learned, and the agency is moving forward with changes in how monitoring and compliance are managed.
Thank you. Those are the only questions I have. I might circle back with the comments before the
vote. Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioner Jones-Dickson.
Thank you, and good morning. Thank you for bringing the sunshine from California.
I wish I could take credit.
Yes, greatly appreciate that. I've shared my questions and comments post our conversation a couple weeks ago. Based off of, this is no slight on you personally, but based off of just the feedback that I've received and what I've reviewed over the last 3 weeks, as far as this moment is concerned, I personally don't believe you're the right fit, and I'm just saying that. But that doesn't mean I won't work with you. And I've been proven wrong time and time again, and we don't have to talk publicly about that, but I just want to provide that for context for everyone as far as my no vote this morning. So I'll just leave it there, but I don't have any additional questions, majority of which were answered throughout our interview process. But again, thank you for being here this morning and going through the process.
If I am approved by the remaining members of the commission, I hope to prove you wrong.
Or work with us to build America's favorite county.
Prove wrong the no vote, but absolutely through working with you hand in glove to make sure that services are provided to the unhoused residents of the county.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Moyer.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to also get to speak with you, which I appreciated, as well as watching earlier interview processes. You were my first choice, although I thought we had a really strong group of candidates, so I think the county was very fortunate. One of the areas that I think I was the most interested in the new homeless service director is a depth of understanding of different modalities, different approaches, the ability to help us at a critical time that I think that we're at. Here in Multnomah County, we were fortunate enough to have the voters support a really significant increase in revenue, of which I am incredibly grateful to the metro area voters for doing. And we, in earnest, threw a lot of things on the wall, as one should in a crisis. And we are now in a different fiscal reality, and we're also at a different place in our own system maturity. And I think the work ahead of us is to now transform our system into the sustainable long-term system that can effectively and efficiently help people reach the most independent long-term solution for their housing and support. And your background, I thought, showed a lot of expertise in that area. I think you probably had me at Medicaid match. That's kind of my favorite thing to obsess over, is how do we get things matched because of our fiscal reality. I'm just curious, in your early conversations, looking at our system from a very high level, where do you see yourself spending your first 6 to 12 months?
Well, as I mentioned in my remarks, I think the first step is going to be listening and learning. I'm coming in as an outsider. I've had a lot of experience in the field, but don't expect that all of that experience will translate directly. And so I want to make sure that before I propose any changes, that they are based on a clear understanding of the specific issues of Multnomah County, and have a clear understanding of your goals and the relationships with the city of Portland, the relationship with the other cities within the county, building an opportunity to have strong partnerships with the agencies that are providing the services. So I think that foundation is my essential first step. In terms of next steps beyond that, I think there's tremendous opportunities for building out deeper data infrastructure to be able to show you all and the community the progress that is being made on a daily basis, as well as to be able to show where there may be gaps in progress. That will help us as a department in identifying areas of needed improvement, and also be able to allow all of us to share with the public the progress that is being made, which I think is going to be essential as we approach the ending of the measure, the supportive housing measure, and hopefully can move towards approval for the next step of that funding. Additionally, I think there's from my understanding from the outside, there are some challenges around aligning and standardizing the services that are provided in permanent supportive housing, and ensuring that those services are sufficient to help stabilize individuals as they're moved from the streets directly into housing, or from shelters into permanent supportive housing. So I think there's work that can be done there. And finally, I think and this is something that I'm seeing with colleagues across the country, there's work that needs to be done in the coordinated access to ensure that there is clarity for participants, for elected leaders, for providers of how coordinated access works. And again, that there's the data, the daylight on the data to be able to share with folks exactly how coordinated access is working, where there are challenges, where improvements can be made, and where improvements are being made.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I didn't unfortunately have the opportunity to interview with you. COVID took that away from me, so it's nice to see you. I think we met briefly when I was a nonprofit executive director, and we were building the SHS measure based on what we were learning and seeing in your funding mechanisms in LA. So I know you know how all of those components go together. You know, in 7 months, we'll know who the new chair of Multnomah County will be, and I think that this is not news to any of the staff who have been involved in this process. I think this is a really challenging time to appoint a new permanent director when the direction from a new chair may look very different than the current direction. So for that and that alone, I may be a no vote today. I'm still a bit undecided. I think that, and I sat in your seat almost 4 years ago being appointed as an interim director because of the same situation that we currently sit in, where there was a vacancy when there was also about to be turnover in a chair. So I continue to feel like we should have a long-term interim director so that we are able to actually appoint a permanent director based on the next chair's policy agenda. So I don't have any questions for you. I appreciate the process that has happened and the work that you do. And I just continue to feel that it's maybe not the right time for a permanent appointment, considering all the other dynamics going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Brim-Edwards, did you have closing comments?
I do. I appreciate you responding to the questions that were raised this morning. Thank you. And also, I appreciate the time that we spent earlier during the interview process, and also my review of your background and our discussion. And it's no surprise to anybody, while Commissioner Moyer is focused on Medicaid match, I have been very focused for the last 2 years on first, the fact that we didn't have real data showing whether or not we were making progress, or whether we were sliding behind, or whether we were treading water in terms of reducing the number of people on our streets without housing or that were unsheltered. So I really appreciated our discussion about that, and also our discussion about accountability and showing, taking action for, and getting measurable results. And because I'm a believer that we need to take action now, not wait till later, I felt confident that you were going to move into this role and bring the expertise that you have, and also the skills and the commitment to getting after making real progress on this issue, that I'm going to be supportive this morning. And I appreciate you being open to this opportunity. And again, I want to thank the staff for bringing forward qualified candidates for the position, because this is one of our most important challenges as we move forward as a county. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I will just say I am very excited to have you coming on board at the county. Your experience in LA and the work that you led there is incredible. And I think I appreciate the humility with which you're coming in, and about what you have to learn about the specifics of what's happening in Multnomah County, but also that expertise and experience that you have in a much larger system, to what's happening here. We are lucky here that we have the Supportive Housing Services measure as a revenue source, even in light of what's happening at the federal level or with state revenues. However, we're living in a new normal with those dollars, and really having to understand what our system needs to look like with the resources that we have, so that it can be sustainable and effective, and really do the work we need for the people who are experiencing homelessness in Multnomah County. And one of the things that struck me so strongly in talking with you is that you understood the importance of that system, of a system that really works to meet people where they were, to be data-driven, and ultimately to have the impacts that we want them to have and what the community expects them to have. So I want to thank you, Sarah, for all of your work in leading this recruitment process. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of the engagement that happened with many people at the county, our employees, our provider community, the folks on this board who took time to go through this process, and the advisory board members who also were participated in this several phases of this hiring process. I think their involvement especially ensured that this decision was informed by community input. I do want to take a moment, though, to give a very special thank you to Anna Plum, who is invaluable. She is our current interim director of the Homeless Services Department, who is going to go back to serving as the deputy director once Nathaniel begins, which, if he is approved today, would be on May 4th. Anna has been filling in for nearly a year now, and which is a long time, I think, for any department or any person to hold that interim role. But the expertise, compassion, and steady leadership that she has given has been invaluable for the county, for the community, and for the work that we're doing. I am really glad and pleased that she is staying with the department as deputy director, where she can continue to reinforce the county's commitment to reducing homelessness through compassion and data-driven strategies. I also want to recognize, and I know we have many people here from the Homeless Services Department team, leadership transitions are never easy, and I am really thankful that through it all, your focus on community service and delivery during this time has been amazing. So I just wanted to thank you for that. I think that, this is and has been, continues to be our community's #1 priority in terms of the issues that they want us to work on. It is not time to delay in putting a permanent person in this position. I think that 7 months is a very long time before any kind of new person would be sitting in my chair. And also, I frankly just have a bad taste in my mouth with what happened when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and they held off appointing somebody to the Supreme Court because of a potential change in leadership. So I'm glad that we are taking this action today. I think we need to move forward with the direction that we're going in and bring you on board to jump into this work. And so I'm really glad to have this chance to support you today. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
No.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Vice Chair Jones-Dixon?
No.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Yes, the resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
Next, we have R2, ordinance recognizing sanctuary protections, establishing protocols for federal civil immigration enforcement interaction, and protecting county resources and data by emergency.
All right, may I have a motion? And a second. All right, Commissioner Jones-Dixon moves, Commissioner Brim Edwards seconds, approval of R2. So I'm really glad for this board item and the next one after this. It is a pretty remarkable moment for Multnomah County. Today, the board is taking a milestone step that builds on the work we've been doing since last fall to respond to the ongoing federal attacks and support our immigrant communities. The actions we're considering today are significant because we don't often change the county code to address pressing social issues in our community. But the severity of the threat facing our community has been and continues to be such that it demands a novel response. And the county is mobilizing all of the tools and resources that we have at our disposal to do that. The first of our actions is a consideration of an ordinance, which means that our actions will become law. We're bringing it today as an emergency, meaning that there will be one public hearing and reading of the item before a vote. After that, we will consider a second action that is also being brought as an emergency, which is the resolution. The resolution is needed as the type of government we have at the county is different from other jurisdictions like the City of Portland. Through both my roles as Chief Executive of the county and together as the Board of County Commissioners, there is greater authority in our ability to direct and implement operational details through the administrative and executive rulemaking process. This isn't the end of the work that we're doing. In fact, it is a really strong start, but this will provide us the clarity and guidance on how we'll stay engaged as we face this disgusting, intrusive reality that is driven by our president on our community. I want to thank community members, this board, county employees, and my co-sponsor for this work, Commissioner Singleton, for her expertise and partnership. I'll now turn it over to her for opening comments.
Thank you, Chair. This has been quite some time in the making, so I want to just also appreciate everyone that I know has contributed to this. When I was sworn into office, I knew this would be a priority issue for me. I stand as firm now today as I did then that it's really critical to have some of this codified in ordinance, knowing that we also have a resolution coming up right after this. It's really critical that we continue to stand up against this federal regime that is sowing fear throughout our communities. I want to appreciate not just the folks who were able to be here today, but the hundreds of people that I know you all talked to as part of the engagement with community to develop both this ordinance and this resolution. I also want to thank the staff at Multnomah County, particularly our employee resource groups who have also, I know, leaned in to really support development of this ordinance and resolution. I also want to thank the immigrant and refugee community members for their contribution, not just to the work that we're doing here, but to the county and to this state, and to say that you are all welcome here. My team has been at this for over a year, so I am so proud to be here today that we're actually at a stage of voting on this to move it forward. And I will stop here and hand it over to Salome and Garrett to present and have some more comments when we move into the question and answer. Thank you.
Great. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Garrett Pryor, he, him pronouns. I'm the Chair Senior Policy Advisor on Infrastructure, and I am a product of immigrants. About 100 years ago, Ruth Mullaney here boarded a ship from Ireland, and when she found her way to Ohio, her parents passed away, and she had to raise her sister with family relatives. And in a childhood that I had there was a lot of love, but there was also gun violence and drug use and housing instability. This was my rock. This was my safe place. And what I experienced in the word shalom on earth was through Ruth Beck, an immigrant. Salome?
Omaleyiwe. Good morning. My name is Salome Chimuku, or Salome Chimuku. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Policy Director for Commissioner Singleton. I brought with me today my late mother. She came to the U.S. in 1990 at the age of 41 after leaving her home country of Angola in 1976. The idea that she left her home country at the age of 27 to then spend over a decade in a refugee camp in a foreign land, to then at 41 moving with her husband, my father, and my siblings to yet again another new country with new customs, new languages, new religions, definitely is a testament to a lot of the same stories from people in this room and people not in this room. I say this to say that through her faith in her Lord, she found strength to persevere and to still have hope for a better future for her and her family and her children. So the purpose of this meeting today is to consider proposed resolution ordinance to recognize the sexual area protections and protocols for federal immigration enforcement interaction and protecting county resources and data. This, as many folks know, we had a resolution in December that charged staff with coming forward to the board with recommendations for language around certain policy areas, and so this is a product of that resolution that we bring forward today. Next slide. So here on the slide is just a non-exhaustive list of what we heard and who we heard it from. These are just, again, categories of groups that we spoke to, but between Garrett and I, we've spent hundreds of hours in meetings with people, community members, leaders, organizations, other county staff, to try to bring something forward that was really based and rooted in community. One of the first things that we heard from was the Immigrant and Refugee ERG, or Employee Resource Group, telling us that they want to make sure that throughout this whole process, we keep centered and focused on the idea of what is the cost of doing nothing. Because oftentimes we focus a lot on the cost of doing something, but we fail to recognize what our nothingness would cause. And so with that, Garrett and I set forward to make sure that we honored those wishes. And we heard a lot from community members around flexibility of resources and information, and stability in transparency from the board and from leadership at the county being very important to community members as well as employees. Next slide, please.
All right, so as we set up before, we've been working at this kind of piece by piece. You all have done as a board. So you approved the SNAP funding and emergency operations. EOC Center was stood up in November. We had a board briefing where we brought you research and options in that same month. The chair declared an emergency on December 12th. To help expedite some of those resources to community. In December 18th, we adopted a resolution and allocated funding for legal services and other direct supports. That emergency declaration was then extended for 90 days in January by the board. That 90 days actually ends today. As kind of the culmination of that action, we had chief operating officer reports on a whole cadre of different issues there in February, and that led to recently a board briefing and work session on the 12th. So thank you for all your engagement and refinement throughout that process. Next slide. So from the March 12th meeting to now, we're going to start with the resolution, some things that have changed and been added. A lot of the history of what I just went through, the board history, and to recognize the importance and feedback was added to the findings of the resolution. One of the pieces, and the chair set it up, that were different than the city of Portland as far as the detailing and information that might be in the ordinance, a lot of this then would end up in resolution, meaning it's kind of direction to go and do things. And what we heard in community is that the idea of like going and do things, or the administrative rulemaking process for the county, it's a bit of a mystery black box. And so this resolution really in county history helps explicitly lay out a more clarifying process on the level of engagement, who would be involved, and then on the next slide I'll get back to, and then a kind of transparency measure of bringing what actually happened in that process, reporting back out to the board and community for accountability to be held. And we talked with the wonderful Amara Perez, our Office of Community Involvement Director, around this type of language, and she just, because it's specifically called out the collaborative level. And so what that'll look like is for different scenarios or alternatives to be developed with the external and the community members that are listed in the resolution, and that's done through kind of an iterative feedback process like that, instead of just documents being created internally and then just shared out for limited feedback. So that's the kind of level of specificity and engagement that we're really, to a certain extent, a little bit groundbreaking in how this resolution is intended. And then finally here, and this directly ties back to the feedback we've been receiving all along, is just having at the very forethought, that level of multiple languages being created with these materials, and not sort of just creating in English and waiting for feedback to then go tailor it to other languages. So that level of direction is provided in the resolution. Next slide. There are a few items that that were of great importance to our refugee and immigrant employees, such as international access to Workday and use of lead banks for immigration impacted related situations. So those two specifics are kind of what kind of rolled up into the very top bullet point you see here, that this provides guidance to continue to work and further those issues as of importance. This next bullet point here will then inform our land use department as they do their comprehensive zoning update of what can we do in our incorporated areas to really bolster those land use provisions and conditions, so we don't have detention centers located there. And then the final bullet point here really, again, closes that loop and has a feedback report coming to the board that then can be shared externally on, you're directing a lot of stuff in this resolution, what's actually going to come of it. And so that's an important piece of what's drafted in the resolution today. All right, Salome ordinance.
And to add to the last bullet here that Garrett mentioned, a lot of that came back from feedback that we heard from individuals of wanting to have things to point to in writing around collaboration and making sure that they are involved and they are able to stay informed. And so that's why you might notice in the resolution a lot more language specifically calling out what collaboration looks like to make sure that there's clarity that as we move forward, we will be moving with community. Next slide, please. So changes in the ordinance from March 12th is that Federal Immigration Authority definition has been added. This definition is in alignment with the state statute around how they defined it for the sanctuary status of the state. And there is reference language in statewide sanctuary status laws. And so that reference was made there so that way, as we move forward, we are citing ORS so we don't have to continually update the language, and that if it does update at the state, it would update here at Multnomah County. But also by putting it in the ordinance, it codifies it into county code. So that way, if things change at the state, we still have that provision here, and this still stands. Next slide, please. And so next steps. The next steps is we're here in front of you today are to specifically the ordinance. As stated earlier by the chair and by Garrett, there is an emergency on the ordinance, so it would go into effect immediately. After that, we will also hopefully adopt a resolution. Detailed steps for the administrative rulemaking and operational details are included in that resolution, and so we'll go through that process for rulemaking. And then after this as well, we'll encourage other local governments, especially those within Multnomah County, to adopt similar legislative measures. And I will end on a note. With the ordinance and the resolution here, I think that there's a lot of tie-in to people's real and experience. When Garrett approached me yesterday about bringing a family photo and choosing someone to bring from my family with me, I chose my mother because my mother passed about 4 years ago, and I could not imagine what that would have done to our family if it had happened today, not because of just the grief of losing a mother, but because I'm from a country that is on a travel ban list, which means that my relatives back home would not have been able to come here to participate in her funeral here, and it would have made getting her body to her final resting place back home in her hometown that much harder and that much more riskier. So our work here today definitely impacts the lives of many, but also impacts the lives of folks that work day in and day out at the county and people that you see on the street. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you so much for sharing those personal stories about the impacts on your life and what's happening and what could potentially have been happening. I think that really brings home the reasons why we're doing this work today, so thank you so much. So we do have public testimony on this item, so we'll go to board questions about the ordinance that's under consideration right after we hear from public testimony.
We're going to start with in-person public testimony. First up, we have Councilor Samir Kanal.
Good morning, Councilor. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. For the record, I'm Samir Kanal. I'm a Portland City Councilor for District 2, North and Northeast Portland. Excited to be here with everyone. In October, I had the honor of being the prime sponsor of an ordinance at the Portland City Council to codify our sanctuary city status, which was paired along with a resolution. This might sound familiar to you. The City Council approved it unanimously because our local institutions and resources should not be used to support federal immigration enforcement activity. I'm here today to ask you to do the same and pass the sanctuary city and, in the habit here, sanctuary county ordinance. We took the step at the city because though Portland was already a sanctuary city by non-binding resolution, the Portland Police Bureau was the only part of the city government with a specific and binding policy regarding immigration enforcement activities. But Portland is not just a sanctuary police bureau, we are a sanctuary city. We also saw gaps in our approach at the city, including ensuring that trainings, which had not been updated or delivered in several years, were updated and delivered to employees, and that managers had the tools they needed to support employees who might be in an interaction with federal agents, and we had the support of our employee resource groups to do that. We didn't have signage showing where in city buildings you needed a judicial warrant or a badge or invitation to enter. Our ordinance and paired resolution worked to fill those gaps. Staff at all county facilities deserve the same support and clarity on how to navigate potential interactions with immigration. This includes measures like those trainings, multi-language signage and resources, and data protection. And county employees who are immigrants themselves deserve to know that their employer will support them and have protocols in place. Our shared values on both sides of this river are clear: inclusion, belonging, supporting an environment of safety. We care about our neighbors here, and we want to keep them from harm. And our laws should match those values. Residents have been snatched off the streets at their jobs, even in front of their kids' schools, as you all know. And this will likely continue, and it could escalate, which is what I think the cost of doing nothing referred to earlier. Every locality faces this challenge. How do we protect each other from a federal government with seemingly unlimited resources that's determined to dehumanize and attack our immigrant, refugee, and asylum-seeking neighbors, our Latino community members, and frankly, all of our communities of color? We're limited in what we can do, but everything we can do, we must do. And we do it by standing together to hold the line with a unified response to the federal government's actions. We have a responsibility to protect the communities we serve. And so as a city councilor, as a Multnomah County resident, as a son of immigrants myself, I urge you to protect immigrant and refugee community members and vote to adopt both the Sanctuary County Ordinance and the companion resolution, and furthermore to send the same message that we sent by doing so unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Really appreciate you being here this morning and for the work that you're doing over on the other side of the river.
Next up in person, we have Ethan Crow, Karen Cadillo, Simone Crow, and Pam Fan. Please come down to the presenter's table.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here this morning. Ethan, you can begin whenever you're ready.
All right. Chair Vega-Peterson and members of the commission, thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony. My name is Ethan Crow, he, him pronouns, and I serve as the Associate Director of Policy and Organizing for the ACLU of Oregon. We're a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization dedicated to defending and advancing democracy, civil liberties, and civil rights with more than 50,000 members and donor supporters statewide. This morning, you will hear strong support from across our county, recognizing that this measure is urgently needed and aligned with our county's values and responsibilities. Today, I echo these voices that the ACLU of Oregon strongly supports this ordinance. The ordinance provides critical executive direction, tasking the county with clarifying and designating non-public areas in county buildings, and it urges the county to ensure that no resources are used for immigration enforcement except where legally required. This ordinance is especially important because it strengthens how data is handled, ensuring that collection, maintenance, and disclosure practices comply with Oregon sanctuary laws. We also appreciate that the ordinance makes clear that Multnomah County will not use its resources to support federal immigration detention efforts in line with Oregon sanctuary laws prohibiting agreements that expand detention capacity. Our community should not be used to facilitate detention or family separation. This legal infrastructure is not theoretical. It is a necessary response to real and escalating threats. Federalized National Guard troops have been threatened in our streets. Immigrant and refugee neighbors continue to face harassment, family separations, and detention. We've seen how federal power can be abused to suppress protest, erode civil rights, and target vulnerable communities. This ordinance is a crucial first step in coordinating this county's response to these unlawful and undemocratic assaults. But these actions must be seen as the beginning, not the end, of what this commission can and must do to protect our democracy. Continued action is needed to guard against unconstitutional surveillance, militarized policing, and discriminatory enforcement. I ask that this body remain vigilant in protecting our shared democratic values. On behalf of the ACLU of Oregon, I want to express our deep appreciation for your leadership in this moment. By adopting this ordinance, you're not only defending the rule of law, you're affirming the dignity, safety, and rights of everyone who calls Multnomah County home. We urge your strong yes vote. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is,
No, it's okay. You can go ahead.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're great.
Hi, good morning. My name is Karen Caudillo. I'm the organizing manager for Oregon Food Bank. Oregon Food Bank's mission is to eliminate hunger and its root causes because no one should be hungry. Yet 1/3 more Oregonians experience hunger today than before the pandemic. Last year, the Oregon Food Bank network supported 2.9 million visits to food assistance sites across Oregon and Southwest Washington. That reality reminds us that hunger is a crisis in Oregon, and we need more than food distribution to address it. In Oregon, immigrants are part of our families, communities, and food system, yet many face disproportionate hunger because of systemic barriers and policies that disrupt work, stability, and access to food. Immigrant communities are a vital part of Oregon's communities, culture, and economy, and play an essential role in the state's food system. When immigrant communities are destabilized, Oregon's food system loses capacity, local economies weaken, and demand on food banks increases. Ending hunger requires more than food. It requires conditions that allow families to live and work with safety, dignity, and stability. In the current environment, increased immigration enforcement by Immigrant and Customs Enforcement and federal policies affecting immigrant families are creating fear and instability that disrupt work, daily life, and access to food. This fear drives people away from food banks and community resources and makes it harder for our Oregon Food Bank network to reach people who need food. It is more critical than ever that we recommit our efforts to support our communities at a state and local level. Oregon Food Bank proudly supports the Multnomah County Sanctuary Ordinance. This is an important step to codify and clarify Oregon's longstanding sanctuary protections, laws that voters affirmed in 2018. The ordinance is especially important because it strengthens how data is handled, ensuring that collection, maintenance, and disclosure practices comply with Oregon's sanctuary laws. Please do everything in your power to preserve and strengthen our communities in Multnomah County by passing the sanctuary ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Simone Crow, and I live in Commissioner Singleton's district. I work all over the county, and I have been organizing in East Portland for the past few years. I am also a volunteer for Guerreras Latinas, which is an organization in East County empowering Latinas, and a contractor of Multnomah County. Since October, Spanish and English-speaking volunteers have been mobilizing, with no reliable space, by the way, to feed between 10 to 40 families every single week, families impacted by ICE. Although ICE agents have not been terrorizing and kidnapping families as much as of late, their terror persists, especially for our county residents most vulnerable due to death by bureaucracy and legal barriers like delays and expenses that prevent work visas. Families with little kids have no income, are going hungry, and face eviction. When the resolution passed in December, Guerreras Latinas families told us they felt supported and more welcome here, grateful that their local community and politicians had their backs. As a disaster resilience organizer, I've already seen firsthand how those most impacted at risk in disasters need basic protections from detention and ICE. As a climate haven, Multnomah County will only continue to be a destination for migrants and people of all ethnicities to find safety. And we need to be ready for this influx by ensuring their safety from not only climate disasters, but also the federal police state. Portlanders care deeply about this. At least 7,000, Portland Immigrant Rights Coalition have trained at least 7,000 residents in Multnomah County as part of their Migrant Watch training, and I counted this morning 4,800 committed volunteers part of that program. There are countless food delivery programs. 175 people from all over the county came to the town hall held in December about this topic. Your staff spent hundreds of hours meeting with community members, organizations, and leaders, and hundreds have submitted some written and verbal testimony, sent emails, and met with you all, including the December ordinance. As a Guerreras Latinas is a Multnomah County contractor, and we want accountability training, and we want contractors and municipalities to be under the same rules and protections. The policies set before you today are smart, practical, and responsive to our county's needs and under the scope of the county's authority. They will make a difference. Just as we follow state and federal laws here in Multnomah, our county can set strong values, guidelines, and laws for cities to, at the minimum, follow and even exceed. That's one of the purposes of having county government. Passing this matters, and I thank you in advance, but just know that we will also be watching on how the implementation process goes. This resolution and ordinance are the words, and we look forward to how you make it real through action. The right thing to do isn't always the easy thing to do, but it's the right thing to do, and it's what voting and non-voting members of our county want and need to feel safe and welcome here. So immigrants, providers, county residents, and I strongly urge you and thank you in advance for passing this ordinance into law.
Thank you so much. Good job getting it in there. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Vega Peterson and members of Multnomah County Board. My name is Pam Fun. I go by they, them pronouns. I'm the new Executive Director of Unite Oregon. And for 25 years, Unite Oregon has operated to organize and lift the voices of immigrants, refugees, and working people on issues that impact their lives the most. We organize statewide with members, partners, and who live and work throughout Multnomah County. And we submit this testimony in full support of the sanctuary ordinance and resolution. And we urge you to adopt the strongest possible measures in these protections. Make no mistake, federal immigration enforcement is not a neutral law enforcement function. It is a tool of racial and political violence, one that has historically targeted Black and brown communities and criminalizes belonging, and that operates with terror, surveillance, and detention. When Multnomah County codifies sanctuary protections, it's not simply adopting a policy position, it's choosing a side. We urge the board to choose the side of the communities who make this county home. Several provisions are now at risk of being weakened or removed due to the pressure from those who would prioritize administrative convenience over community safety, and we urge the board to hold firm on each of the following. I've submitted a written testimony, so I'll kind of zip through a few of these, but we urge you to extend restricted access protections to all county-funded spaces. We've heard concerns that it would be administratively complex to apply sanctuary protections to county leases or contracts, such as Portland Public Schools, City of Fairview, or unincorporated county areas. And we actually reject this framing that complexity is a reason to leave workers and community members unprotected. Immigrant and refugee county employees and contractors work across all county-funded spaces, not just libraries and courthouses. If sanctuary is a value, then its protections must follow the money and the people. Carving out county-funded spaces from these protections would create a patchwork of safety that will be exploited. We also urge you to make sanctuary training available to contractors and all employees, as well as route all federal immigration requests through the county attorney. We've heard that this concern would slow processing if multiple requests arrive simultaneously. We actually support this delay. The burden of legal judgment should fall on skilled legal staff, not on frontline employees who may have taken only a single training. Routing requests through the county attorney is how the county ensures compliance with Oregon's Sanctuary Promise Act, protects itself from legal liability, ensures that no individual worker is made to bear the weight of a decision that requires legal expertise. This is actually the right policy, and the board should hold it. We want to support and require that community participation on administrative rulemaking is necessary. The subject matter experts of how immigration enforcement actually operates in the lives of Multnomah County residents are not all employed at the county. They are actually the attorneys representing detained individuals, the advocates accompanying folks through their deportation proceedings, and then also the community organizers who've received these calls. Thank you again, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Now we'll do virtual testimony. First up, we have Beth Kavila-Sech. Beth, you can unmute yourself. I'm going to send you an unmute request.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. I don't know if my video is working, but hopefully it is. Good morning, Chair Vega Peterson and members of the commission. My name is Beth Javilacek. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the advocacy manager at the Coalition of Communities of Color. CCC is an alliance of culturally specific organizations dedicated to collective action for racial justice, including research and data justice. I'm writing to express CCC's support for the Sanctuary Protections Resolution. This action will codify and clarify Multnomah County's longstanding commitment to sanctuary protections, laws that voters reaffirmed in 2018. Multnomah County has a duty to continue to be a place where all of us can live with dignity and safety, including, and perhaps more importantly, given our current political environment, our immigrant neighbors who call Multnomah County their home. Many of CCC's member organizations serve immigrant communities and know firsthand the importance that sanctuary laws have on our community members. This ordinance is especially important because it strengthens how data is handled. It ensures that collection, maintenance, and disclosure practices comply with Oregon sanctuary laws. CCC houses the Research Justice Institute, who support and advance research and data in our region through our work with BIPOC serving community-based organizations and dominant institutions. CCC has firsthand knowledge of how data can be used to either protect and uplift communities or work to tear communities apart. It is essential that we protect the data of every resident in Multnomah County, and that includes our immigrant neighbors. Thank you to the Commission for showing leadership in this crucial moment, and we urge you to continue doing so by passing the sanctuary ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Casey Hansen. Casey.
Hi, I'm here.
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, let's see. Video. Okay, sorry about that. I'm Carla Casey Hansen. I'm a Gresham resident. I'm a Multnomah County business owner, longtime activist. Thank you, Chair Vega Peterson and Commissioners, for the privilege of addressing you today. I strongly support the resolution and ordinance before you regarding how the county interacts with and protects our residents, workers, and guests from federal immigration agents and incursions. When I moved to Oregon over 35 years ago, I became aware of the state's sanctuary status. While I didn't give it a lot of thought at the time, I recognized it as a reasonable statement of support for our immigrant community members, especially as I was fairly constantly exposed to and well aware of a general resentment toward Hispanic immigrants and Californians. But I have been fortunate in my work life, and in more than 30 years of operating my own small business, I have worked alongside many, many immigrants. Without reservation, I can attest that these folks are among the hardest working people I know, and they contribute much more to our community and our own particular vector of the economic cycle than they get back. I have known so many of these guys and gals for over 20 years, well enough to see the photos of their kids. Sometimes I will even be shown a new federal ID, which confirms the grinning card holder's path to becoming an American citizen, and it warms my heart. So I'm heartbroken at my country's characterization of these folks as scofflaws. I'm appalled at our nation's abuse of our immigrant population, even those that are assumed to be immigrants due to racist assumptions. It sickens me that the well-being of entire communities have been trampled by the boots of federal agents. But I am buoyed by the work of local governments, like Multnomah County, like Portland, and like my own city of Gresham, to put structures in place to at least buffer the impact of the often unlawful, unconstitutional, and even violent actions of federal agents, which cast a dark and foreboding pallor over every community in which they unleash some arrogantly named operation. The details and specific protections for county workers are important. The establishment of protocols for dealing with federal agents are important. The ability to review, improve, and offer additional protections, that's all extremely important. But what is particularly significant is that you are establishing a standard that will live past this time of upheaval. You're setting a standard for other communities, and you are saying to our immigrant community, you are part of us. We got your back. I will be proud to go back to my friends and my work colleagues and tell them Multnomah County stands with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Casey.
Next up, we have Liz Kay. Liz, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm going to keep this, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to keep this very short because there's a lot more important people that can testify to this today. But my name is Liz Kay. I'm a Portland resident, and I urge the board to pass the sanctuary ordinance today and not not just stop there. The sanctuary ordinance will only be as strong as it is enforced, and sanctuary means giving more than just your vote or your lip service to this cause. Supporting sanctuary also must mean divesting from companies that either pay or get funding from the people who are terrorizing our communities. So I also urge the board to start the process of putting policies in place that will divest from companies profiting off of the terror in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
That's all for public testimony.
All right, thank you. So I'll invite Salome and Garrett back up, and we will go to the board for any questions or comments around the ordinance this morning. We'll start with Commissioner Jones-Dixon.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Chair. Like I said, from its inception, supportive. Only comment is just thank you for just your work, and your leadership on this. And shout out to Pam. I haven't seen you since 2016 when I first started organizing back in Gresham. And just want to say thank you to everyone that came out for public testimony this morning. This is extremely important. And as Casey mentioned, we have buffers and things in place, and I look forward to voting yes on both the ordinance and the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Moyer.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your work on all of this. My office has been grateful for numerous conversations we've been able to have through this process, and I'm very excited for this action today. I'm also really pleased with the level of which we are working to make sure that the community remains an active part of the work we do. Government is not just votes, it's rulemaking processes and committees and all sorts of fun things that take principles and turn them into action. And I appreciate the intentionality of making sure that the community is actively involved in that process, so that we make sure that as we operationalize this, we are doing so in partnership with community leaders and others who are living this work every day. I just want to express how important I think these actions are. Even though, people are going to point out Oregon, doesn't this all fall under Oregon's sanctuary statute? I think, although that is something to be proud of as an Oregonian, certainly being the first state to have passed such a thing is an area that we should be proud of. It is a law, like all laws, that have to be put boots on the ground and have to be operationalized. And it is our responsibility as Multnomah County government to translate that work into how we operate and bring clarity to areas in which the language is less clear. So I'm happy that we are doing that. I encourage us to push it as far as we think we legally can. Not just because I think that that is our role, but I also believe this is not just a legal issue, it is a moral issue. And I believe strongly that one of the most important acts this country has ever done was the Bill of Rights, which was never, ever solely for U.S. citizens. I am appalled by the general lack of knowledge of U.S. history and U.S. government, and where these rights that seem to be up for debate came from, and how important they are. We have never been a country free of xenophobia, but we have strived to be better, and we continue to strive to be better. And I am proud that this body wishes to make it clear that we do not reserve the freedoms of our Constitution for people who are citizens, but that it is a freedom to all who set foot on our soil, that we have so tremendously benefited from our immigrant community and are not going to turn our backs on our neighbors. I wish that we could do more. I look for ways to do more, but I really do think that this is important because it is about putting meat on the bones of something that is the right thing to do. And I both appreciate the ordinance and the resolution because I think they both play an important role in saying that we are not just going to use good words around our values, but that we will actually put them into practice in real and tangible ways for our community. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Moyer. Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you. And thank you, colleagues, for the comments today as well and the way that everybody has leaned in. I know it's been a multiple stage process, but it felt really important that we were iterating with community to make sure we landed on something that really spoke to what the people who were most impacted wanted to see here today. I want to make a couple of things clear as the commissioner who has been leading this work for Multnomah County and read a couple of things into the record today, and some is reflective of what we heard in the public testimony. In the ordinance, when it defines restricted access, we do mean all county facilities, properties. We aren't going to leave any facility out, and that county employees really work in a lot of different spaces, and we want to be clear that you are protected when you are working in a county facility, and it means all of them. Whether it's a building we're leasing, or if you're doing work outside of that, that you're really, again, protected as a county employee. The signage mentioned in the ordinance will be translated and made available. I've heard from a couple of folks that wasn't super clear. Same day ability to have translation is critical to make sure that everybody is able to see and understand the signage, the training, everything that's going on as a part of this work. So that is something I want to make sure is clear about my legislative intent here today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the resolution too, because we've kind of combined the both. So I just want to name that about 2 weeks ago, I gave a statement to the press when I found out that ICE was looking into finding office space in Portland. And when it comes to ICE, we will treat them like we would any group who disrupts county services. We do not want ICE even staging in our parking lots. It hinders county staff from doing their work, and it sows fear in the people who are trying to receive their basic social services through county programs. When trainings are mentioned in the resolution, it speaks about county staff. I've said this before, I will say it again today. Trainings should be made and will be made available to contractors. It is really critical that we are also giving some support to the people that county dollars are going to run programs. People in shelters should have the same protections as people who are coming into a health clinic. And it's really important that we work with our providers to make sure that they know how to move those sorts of protections forward, but also they know how to respond should ICE show up at one of their facilities. When it comes to notification, I think to be clear, that includes, again, all county facilities. Notifications will be going to the county attorney and COO. I know there's been a little bit as well there that maybe feels unclear in the ordinance, so reading in my legislative intent is that those will be coming to the county attorney and COO, and that is my understanding of my conversations with them of how the process will work. And I think you've heard a number of pieces today about the rulemaking. It is absolutely imperative to me, and I will continue to look at and make sure that we are including community organizations and some of the nonprofits that we heard from today, some of the leaders that we know are out here in the community supporting our immigrant and refugee neighbors, that they be a part of rulemaking and really make sure that we put together the strongest protections, but also training programs for our staff. And I just felt it was necessary to frame all this because I want to be sure that we're all on the same page, that the intent of what you see before you is mirroring what I've heard from community and public commenters today. And with that, I will close my remarks, and I think because then we've got the next resolution coming up after.
We do. We have 2 items today on this. Thank you. Commissioner Brim Edwards.
Thank you. And since we have 2 items, I'm just going to bifurcate my comments. So for this piece, I want to just thank everybody who came this morning and testified. I want to thank staff for the work you've done on this, for, I think, listening to the commission discussion, and also to the broader community, and finding ways to improve and strengthen both the resolution and the ordinance. So I really want to thank you for doing that. I think we have a strong work product. And to the community members, organizations, and elected officials. I don't know if Councilor Canal is still here. Yes, thank you for staying, but thank you for everybody for testimony this morning, not just about today's action, but how we proceed with the implementation, which is, as we all know, just as important as the action that happens here today. So just giving my thank yous now, and I'll speak to I'll save the rest of my comments for the second half of our work on the ordinance.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I'm also going to bifurcate my comments, but in my closing remarks are really just thank you. So we'll do some now and some later. But I really want to thank the true experts for us on this issue, which are the community members who are directly being impacted by this. I also, and that includes our employees with lived experience as immigrants and refugees who are dealing with this both as people who are working at the county, representing the county, trying to do right by community in the face of what's happening, and humans with personal impacts to what's happening because of these destructive federal policies and actions. I do want to appreciate the work of the Portland City Council, county administration, and staff for bringing us to this day, and that is a huge thank you to both Salome and Garrett for all of the work in the countless hours that you have done in moving this work forward. I thank my fellow commissioners for their resounding support for the work that's happening and the way that we as government leaders can really be clear and strong in how we're facing this crisis. I'm glad we have this opportunity to clarify in law, which will live on past our times, of what we stand for as a Multnomah County government. Tasia, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Yes, the ordinance is adopted. Yay. Thank you.
R3, resolution recognizing sanctuary protections and protocols for federal civil immigration enforcement interaction and protecting county resources and data by emergency.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Singleton moves, Commissioner Jones-Dixon seconds approval of R3. So this is our second action today, which is also being brought by emergency, meaning that this will have one public hearing. The resolution was needed as the type of government we have at the county. And so this is really an important piece for us. As the county chair, there is greater authority in our ability as a board to have more operational details directed and implemented through administrative and executive rulemaking process. I think that this proposed resolution is going to help demystify this rulemaking process by making commitments to who is involved, what level of involvement, while setting clear expectations around transparency and communication of outcomes. So I'm really happy where we ended up with this. And this really means that we're providing greater accountability to all, but especially our community experts and employees who have voiced their concerns, their questions, and raised issues that need clarifying. With that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Singleton for any other opening remarks she has.
Thank you, Chair. This resolution in particular, I think, is really critical because it's important that we're also paying attention to the people closest to us as we're implementing this work. And while we can't control what this federal regime does, we have the ability to control our actions. So I'm really proud of how much work has gone into getting us where we are today. I know there's more to come with rulemaking, but I particularly want to appreciate our immigrant and refugee employee resource group and the Queer Trans People of Color Employee Resource Group, who have put in hours of work during your off time to inform and help make this resolution better. While at the same time living through severe trauma because of what this regime is doing. So I will stop there, and I don't know that we have a whole presentation, but a couple of things from folks.
We gave our presentation earlier, and so for this portion, we want to uplift something. Earlier, Garrett and I spoke about our family members who were immigrants that came to this country. I wanted to highlight my mother for the reasons I mentioned earlier, but also because in my family, we've had the unfortunate experience of having someone detained. And what that did to our family was immeasurable. It changed so much of what we had to go through and what we had to do. I say this to say because while we are super incredibly happy and proud of the work that we're doing here today, there are folks who have went into detention and never came back. And we want to hold space for the fact that last year was one of the deadliest years for in-custody deaths in ICE's history. 32 individuals died while in custody, while being detained, and that we know of. We also know that there have been so far 4 American citizens who have been killed by ICE agents since this time last year, and we know that this year there have been already 14 confirmed deaths while in ICE custody. That brings a total number of 50 known deaths directly related to ICE and their enforcement tactics. And I say known deaths because we also cannot forget the folks who we don't know about because they are here alone in this country and no one was notified. And we can't also forget about the ones who were deported to hostile lands where they knew they would face death. And so I just want to say that to uplift, to hope that it brings us the power that we need and the courage to celebrate loud enough so they can hear us.
Thank you so much. Did we have any public testimony for this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to the board for any comments or questions on the resolution. Commissioner Moyer?
I'd like to offer an amendment to the resolution, which has been posted and hopefully everyone has seen. It's an amendment that would add language to 3C. And I'll just read that for people in the room. This is what would be added. I'll read the whole thing and then the added part. Access to restricted areas of county facilities by agents of federal immigration authorities is not permitted unless the agent presents a judicial warrant signed by a federal magistrate or as otherwise authorized by applicable law. Restricted areas to be posted with visible signage, notification, procedures created, and training provided. The administrative procedures and executive rulemaking process will clarify the extent of the restricted access, language to be added. It is the policy of the board that members of the public have access to county services without disruption or harassment. To the greatest extent allowed by law, the county behavioral rules and exclusion policy should be enforced to assure that persons accessing county facilities, parking lots, and appurtenances. Thank you. Appurtenances of county service are not subject to harassment, intimidation, or otherwise dissuaded from their lawful access to those services.
I second that. I support this amendment.
All right,
Thank you.
so we have a motion for an amendment on the resolution and a second, so we are now under discussion on the amendment. Commissioner Moyer, would you like to describe your amendment?
Sure. I think that this is just to add clarity around some murky area. To be clear, this would apply to individuals in many circumstances. We're making it clear that Federal Immigration Authority also falls under our behavior rules and that we will use the procedures that the county has set up. People may be familiar with our procedures through library and other places where they have been used, where if somebody is behaving in a way, and we lay out the types of behaviors, and I would say purposeful intimidation by wearing a uniform to menace individuals would count as dissuading people from accessing public service, that will use the process in which we have in place, which is to first ask somebody to leave. The second, if they refuse to do so, is to exclude them from the property. If they violate that, we then trespass them from our property. So that is certainly some of our departments are very familiar with that. Others, this may be an area of training, but I want to bring this forth to clarify for the county how we interpret what is allowable and not allowable behavior on our premises.
Thank you. Discussion on this amendment? No? Okay, no discussion. Thank you, Commissioner Moyer. I appreciated the chance to talk with you about this amendment yesterday. And I know that you worked with the county attorney to get this language, to craft it. I think that in terms of just looking forward to like the implementation of this, along with some of the other parts of the resolution that we have today, making sure that we're clear and providing guidance to our employees about what this looks like is going to be really important to me. So I want to make sure that they are going to be involved in the conversation about what this looks like, how this might impact the work that they do, as well as our security personnel whom also might have a role in this. So I appreciate that. And so I think we're ready for a vote if there are no other conversations.
Commissioner Moyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim Edwards? Yes. Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye. The amendment is adopted. So now we go back to discussion on the underlying resolution as amended. Any further comments about that? Or, well, actually, we were at Commissioner Singleton?
No, Chair, I said them during the opening remarks. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Commissioner Brim Edwards?
So I'm just going to make the rest of my remarks. I'm supportive of this as well. There are two thank yous that I apologize for missing in the first pass. I want to thank the chair for really kicking off the commission's work by issuing the emergency declaration and on December 12th of 2025 to get the framework immediately in place around this, while the commission did its work to provide a more permanent set of policies embedded in both the ordinance that we're considering today and also the resolution. I also want to thank staff for drafting new language at my request in the ordinance around the provision prohibiting ICE from leasing county facilities. As I raised in the meeting, I thought it was too narrow. I thought there was little likelihood that the ICE would come and ask the county to lease one of our facilities, and really what our intent was to have a much broader approach. And so I appreciate the redraft of that language that I think is more comprehensive. But if ICE does try and lease facilities in the county, that we have an approach to that. And so, sorry, I missed those in the first round of thank yous. I am supportive of this. Obviously, immigrant and refugee communities are essential to Multnomah County's social and economic fabric, which people today testified to that effect. And I know that to be especially true in District 3 in East Portland. We know immigrants and refugee communities, those individuals are our friends, neighbors, caregivers, small business owners, entrepreneurs, our neighbors, our parents, our friends, and they contribute daily to our community. I also just want to share that I believe that the ordinance and the resolution today really affirm our affirmation of our county's values, and it's not just today's actions, but how we implement them that will be the affirmation of our values. You know, one of the things in conversations with District 3 residents, there's this fear of seeking help if it might put their family at risk. And it's whether it's calling 911 or reporting a crime or accessing public services. we know that no one should feel that they're putting their family at risk when they're asking the county for help. So I think this resolution and the ordinance will send the message that people should not be fearful. Immigrants and refugees are welcomed in our community and should be able to access public services and help without fear. These policies are about safety and trust, and we, as a commission, I think today's action sends a message that we're not going to stand by as the federal government attacks our neighbors. Rather, we stand with our neighbors in solidarity, and not just today, but as we move forward. And I'll just close again by thanking staff for all the work you did to bring this forward. I think we have a really strong work product that aligns with our county values. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones Dixon.
No additional comments.
Thank you. So I just, I think, want to close out by clarifying one thing. I think just because we have an ordinance and a resolution, resolutions don't need to be adopted by emergency because they are just resolutions and they go into effect as they are adopted by the board. So just to clarify that. But I just wanted to end by really thanking Commissioner Singleton for all of her work and leadership on this issue. Every single week since we started in January under the new administration, she has been bringing forward stories, experiences of what's happening in our community, ways for people to get engaged, talking about what she has been hearing, and I'm really grateful for that. All of us feel the urgency of this, but you have kept it on the front burner. I will say so clearly, our country, our state, our county is better and stronger for our immigrants. And the vilification that is happening, the attacks that are happening are shameful. And they're having real damage. And real damage in our community, real damage personally, but also real damage to the future of this country, right? We are not going to be able to do all the things that we want to do, have the economic vitality that we want, have the growth that we want to have in our country without our immigrant community. And I know this from my own experience with my family and what I see in the community, but we are a richer, better community because of our immigrant populations. And we at the county level cannot stop what is happening. We cannot right all of the harms that have been done, but we can do these actions today. We can follow through on this resolution, on this ordinance that we're passing today with a commitment to see those through, to continue to stand strong. And so I think this is a really proud day for this board to be able to take these actions and show our commitment to the community, all of our community, on that we stand with you. So with that, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim-Edwards? Yes. Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye, the resolution is adopted as amended. All right, thank you so much. Thank you again, Garrett and Salome. Now we will move on to R4.
R4, Library Bond Oversight Committee Report.
It's a report.
I'm always ready.
So I am so glad that we have members of our Library Bond Oversight Committee here today, including the chair, Nicole Pexton. Nicole, great to see you. As you guys are figuring out the seats, I will turn it over to you to begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Chair Vega Peterson, Board of Commissioners. My name is Nicole Pexton. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the chair of the Library Bond Oversight Committee. I have 3 other members of the committee here with me today. They will introduce themselves. And we're pleased to share our annual report ending in June 30th of 2025. This is our 3rd report, and so we're pleased to share the results with you. Next slide, please. So this is a reminder of our committee's purpose, So we were written into the bond measure itself. It required the development of an independent oversight committee. So we have been in effect since November of 2021, and we meet quarterly to hear bond progress reports and also to provide feedback on how the library is achieving its bond goals. So our primary charge is to ensure the library is transparent and accountable in its use of bond funds. Next slide, please. So these are our current members. I just want to note that there's a wide array of expertise on this committee, and that includes sustainability, equity, performance auditing, construction, and more, and we come from all different areas of the county. Next slide, please. So this is our overall assessment slide. We mapped out 5 different categories. We've done this, year over year at this point. There's budget management, independent audit, schedule and project progress, diversity, equity, inclusion, and community engagement. And we also developed a rating system to make it easy for you to see at a glance how the bond is doing. So as you can see in the key, green is on target, yellow would mean there's some moderate risk, and red would be a serious risk or a critical issue. And as we are nearing the end of the bond program, there's less uncertainty, so the bond committee felt comfortable giving everything a green rating. So I don't need to tell you that this is good news, especially for a major public capital construction project. This is never a given. So I'm happy to report this, and we will go into more detail on each of these categories on the following slides, starting with Randall, who talk a bit more about the budget.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and members of the Commission. My name is Randall Edwards. I have been on this oversight group since its inception. So as was described, this is our 3rd report. And as was also described, this has been a very humbling experience for us, but also I think for the libraries themselves to manage and overseeing this really large project, multiple projects in a tough time. As described in the slide, this county issued $387 million in general obligation bonds in 2021 to renovate, modernize, and build new libraries. Thanks to favorable interest rates, the bond sale also generated a reserve premium of $50.7 million. And since that time, the total budget has also seen $11.8 million in interest earnings and $10.2 million in outside funds from grants, donations, energy trust incentives, and library district funds. In total, the available funding grew to $459,723,126 and $126, as described in the chart on the left. I want to say the spend down of this also was really been impressive. There was a very transparent and a detailed tracking of budgets to actuals for all projects. It is actually a testament to the early planning and management of these many projects by staff in the county. The Bond Program Management Office oversees the overall portfolio, ensuring that each project includes construction costs, soft costs, and contingency funds. Each library project budget is established and finalized when a guaranteed maximum price construction contract is reached with each project contractor. This reduces uncertainty about major cost changes and helps manage budgets to actual spend downs. As libraries near completion, the program office reviews unused contingency funds, reallocates them as needed. Project teams closely track spending and provide monthly updates to county leaders. Any changes to project funding must go through a formal budget process. Our committee, as was described, receives quarterly updates on overall spending and budget to actuals for each project, and you can find those details in our report. By June 30, 2025, $333.7 million, I'll round it, had been spent with a budget remaining of $126 million, as seen in the slide. By the end of January 2026, all projects have been locked into their final budgets. The overall budget remaining is $68 million, with an uncommitted balance across the program of $25 million. When you enter these renovated and new libraries, it's a stunning experience. However, this was really not possible without the excellent budget management and oversight of the many projects, which again is testament to the great work done by library staff and the county. This was not an easy time to launch multiple construction projects. You should take pride in what has happened here. I would now like to introduce Steve, who's behind me, with Baker Tilly, the outside audit firm who worked with us verifying the budget management process.
Sorry, I have to jump in here. So Steve had a last-minute
He's here.
conflict. Oh, he is here. Oh, awesome. Sorry, my bad.
Here, I got it.
Very last minute indeed.
Hey everyone, good afternoon. My name is Steve Becchetti. I'm a principal at Baker Tilly, focusing on major capital projects advisory. We had two scopes. One was agreed upon procedures validating the expenditures were in alignment with the bond program and that the reporting was consistent with expectations, whether it was monthly or quarterly. We had no exceptions on the agreed upon procedures, with the exception of one control improvement area, which was really no exceptions because the notice of commitment didn't occur, and we were engaged to confirm whether it happened or not, but it wasn't needed. So there was a minor procedural improvement from that finding, but it's really low risk, a non-issue. The other scope we had was the reconciliation of the bond program, where we got key inputs from the project management team, including budget forecast, schedule, commitments, et cetera. We reconciled it for all contracts over $500,000. We validated they had contract change order documentation to validate it. We also got pending change order information from project managers to validate that there was no unforeseen changes to the program. With all this data, we were able to prepare a dashboard report with this information for the benefit of the community, to kind of reflect kind of the transparency and accountability that we would expect with a major capital program as such. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those. But before I go to Q&A or potential Q&A, I just want to highlight the great collaboration and just echo kind of the strong team that you guys have executing the program. From our end, it's easy to work with the county and county staff getting the information. Information is very effectively sourced, and when we request whatever the documents we need from our audit perspective, they're able to quickly provide and clarify anything, so super responsive. They're fun to do an audit project with, which might sound the opposite, but yeah, it's good collaboration amongst the team. You guys maximize usage of other funds to maximize the use of the intended scopes. And yeah, I'll kind of defer to you all how you guys want to ask questions or whatever you guys need.
Thank you. You're obviously in the right profession, a fun audit project.
Yeah.
I do see members of our library bond team and our CFO and finance teams here, and so I know they are really glad to hear your words. So thank you for being here today. Do we need to be on the next slide? I'm just curious. Is that
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, I think we can move on to Susan, who will share about the schedule and project.
Great, thank you. Good morning. Next slide, please. Susan Aldridge. I was recently appointed to the Bond Oversight Committee this last year, and actually my professional background includes program management. And as a former program manager, I am so impressed with the work that the program management staff is doing. As you've heard, the budget is in good shape, and I'm here to tell you that we're 2 years ahead of the bond spend down, which is really amazing. I mean, this is a complicated program. So in the past fiscal year, 4 of the 9 major projects were completed, and 6 of the 11 refresh projects were completed. And the staff is expecting that all projects will be completed at the end of this calendar year. Next slide. So let's look at some of the completed projects. If you haven't been out to see them, they're all really exciting. The Operations Center, believe it or not, was a former Safeway, and it is now just an amazing center for, among other things, materials handling, which has greatly increased the efficiency of moving materials around the system. Next slide. I actually went out and visited all the other branch libraries that were opened, which was a really fun experience. So the Holgate Library is a totally new building on site, and it's nearly 3 times the size of the previous library. And judging from the number of people in the building, I can't imagine how they fit into the former building. And next slide, please. In comments on the interior, people are just loving the space, so there's an opportunity to just leave comments behind from patrons. Next slide, please. Midland, oh wow, was this crowded yesterday? I was just absolutely amazed. I don't know what people were doing in the past. This is an expansion on the existing site. And next slide. I love this comment. I'm really blown away by how much our asks were met. As opposed to public input just being a token process, it's actually been included into the delivery of the project. And next slide. North Portland. So there's 4 Carnegie libraries in the city of Portland. And I've always loved going in to see Carnegie libraries. Some of them are now restaurants and who knows what. But this one has been renovated into beautiful space. And then you can see the relatively small addition on the left side of the photo. I think we have a picture of the inside, so next slide. This space is become a Black cultural center, and it's really meant the artwork is beautiful, the light is beautiful, and it's just, and you can see that community members are commenting on it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Courtney.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Courtney Rosenthal. My pronouns are she, her. I am a member of the Bond Oversight Committee. I will be presenting our findings with relation to diversity, equity, and inclusion in our library bond projects. Libraries are a powerful force for equity in our community, and it is our committee's hope that these bond projects will help us achieve that. At this stage of the projects, our specific focus is really on the skilled workforce that is building out our libraries and the renovations. That's the people such as plumbers, electricians, carpenters. Our report has a lot of details on this. I'm a data nerd, so it's all present there. Today, I would like to summarize 3 high-level findings from our research. And forgive me if I jump around the bullets a little bit. First, regarding targets for diversity, we look at the hours worked by the skilled tradespeople and break them down by demographics, such as self-reported ethnicity and gender. We further break those hours down by craft level. Early career workers come into our projects at an apprentice level. As they gain industry experience, they progress to a journey level. And beyond that, they may move into an advanced opportunity such as trainers or supervisors. We have targets for the various demographics and craft levels in whole and across the individual projects. Next slide, please. The targets vary across the various projects. The target numbers are in our report. What I'm presenting to you here is kind of a summary of the actual results. And we have achieved most of our targets, met or exceeded most of our targets. There are a few where we came in under, and they are highlighted in the table. Our overall targets for diversity have been achieved, as you can see at the bottom. In terms of the individual project targets, largely achieved, a couple misses. Which brings me to my second finding I want to report. If you look at our targets for women at the journey level, they tend to be modest. And even then, there were a couple of projects where we did not fully achieve the targets that we were looking for. I want to emphasize this is not a library issue per se. This is a regional and industry-wide problem attracting women into the trades and helping them advance through their career in the trades. But this is a concern, something that we would like to maintain attention on. The library is working with regional organizations to try to address this, and hopefully we will continue seeing better results in the future. Which brings me to the third takeaway. Our committee did an independent analysis of the data. I want to thank Maggie Chavez and the library staff for providing us anonymized payroll data as an open data set. So we conducted our own study, and we looked at the results across the various demographics and skill levels to see year over year how we're doing. And what we found is that year over year, we are seeing slight improvements. The improvements are modest, but improvements are good, right? So we are pleased with that, and that does give us some confidence that we are on track to largely meet our goals as we work through the final stages of this project. We appreciate the work by the library management and staff to develop equity in our local skilled workforce, and we look forward to continued efforts as the project proceed. And so I'd like to hand it back to Nicole to wrap us up.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. So yes, looking forward, we're nearing the end of the bond program, so we expect the completion of all major bond projects by summer of 2026. You can see the photos here of some openings you have to look forward to in the coming months. I know I'm personally excited about the East County Library. Having grown up in Gresham, would have loved to have a library that spectacular. Also, the Belmont Library has been looking great, and I'm excited about the St. John's Library as well. So as the bond winds down, our committee is going to be focused on two things. The first is analyzing impact and usage data. So bond staff invested significant time and effort into community engagement that informed these projects. And we want to see the impact of that. We want to close that loop. So we're interested in looking deep at data, seeing kind of before and after how many people are using the library, how they're using it differently, seeing what kind of stories that we can tell from that. So we expect to do that in the summer, and you can see that in our final report. The other thing that we'll be focused on is spend down of reserves. So we're in the fortunate position of having reserves to spend. And bond staff have a very deliberate and careful process of prioritizing projects to spend those funds. And so our job as an independent oversight committee is simply to monitor that process. And so you can expect us to report on that as well in our next report. So next slide. That concludes our presentation. I want to express gratitude to staff for supporting this committee and giving us all the information that we request. It's truly been a pleasure to watch these projects go through the process and open, and all the benefits to the community, and just to be part of something that's been going so well. It's been really rewarding. So I will stop there and see if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate y'all being here today for this presentation on how things are going. I'll go to the board to see if there are any questions. We'll start with Commissioner Moyer.
Sure. Always great to get a good report. Yay. Happy about that. Job well done. Thank you for your thoroughness and for your time. It is helpful to the board to have this independent look at how we're doing. And for it to be glowing is exciting and fun. Job well done to the project teams. You know, I tend to be so nervous about capital projects because sometimes they do not go as expected. So to have things go better than expected is great. Definitely brings up some questions for me about, due to really strong project management and fiscal oversight, we have some $25 million that is not currently allocated. Very interested to hear what we might be able to do with that. That's a great opportunity, and I thank everybody who worked very hard to make that a possibility and not asking for $25 million, so thank you for that. Is this, since we are running down, do we have one more of these by the end of the bond, or is this our final? We have one more?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. This is
Next
really
year. Yep.
great to hear. Fantastic. Thank you.
Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you. I echo the enthusiasm. I mean, I don't know that I ever hear about projects being ahead of schedule and under budget at the same time. So just really amazing work. And I think it's important that we take any lessons learned from how this has been implemented, not just on community engagement, which I think has looked really unique for how the county has shown up in community engagement, but also in the program management and the oversight functions and how all of this has been so successful so we can replicate it in other county work. I, of course, just want to uplift St. John's folks are so excited. We can't wait to get back in our library. So I look forward to that opening. And additionally, just the beautiful quotes about North Portland Library. I can't emphasize enough how much I hear from my community about how critical having Black spaces is, particularly, again, in the light of some of the times that we're in and what we've been hearing in earlier agenda items today. I just want to also uplift, Courtney, you mentioned some of the challenges that are happening across the industry when it comes to female journey level workers. And it just happens to be last week we had a conversation with Amy James Neal from Portland Community College and Noah Kone from Constructing Hope, who were talking about some recommendations that came out of a trades workforce table that Commissioner Jones-Dixon and I had convened. And we know that one of the biggest things we heard was psychological workplace safety is a huge issue, and that women in particular, almost 44% of them have considered leaving the field. 47 of those is because of harassment and lack of respect at the work site. So we know what the problem is. We actually know what the solution is. And while it's not on the county to implement it across everywhere, it's important that we show up and do it on the projects that we have say and oversight over. So thank you for speaking about that. And again, it's not a unique library problem, but I think the county can show up in more full force around that when we have control over those types of bond and construction projects. So I look forward to when we get into the budget of actually bringing forward some really good investments for those recommendations and hope that they will impact the next iteration of the bond. We're not done with all of our libraries yet, so I know there's more to come and we can incorporate lessons learned into that. So thank you all for your work.
Thank you. Commissioner Brim-Edwards.
So I don't have any questions, but I just have a couple comments. I want to thank all the volunteers who serve on the committee and for wading through the finances. I really, and probably this is just thank you not just for the commission, but also the general public that you were able to take your 163-page report and condense it into 17 slides in a really, I think, a very manageable way for the community to be able to understand and assess how the project has gone. So thank you for doing that, and I think the public thanks you. I should just note, it's not a conflict, but I want to acknowledge that I have a family member, Randall Edwards, who served on the Oversight Committee. I want to thank the library staff for their support for this Oversight Committee, which was embedded in the bond measure language that was approved by the voters, having run lots of either local options or bond measures. I know that the broader community, while in Multnomah County, they are always very generous and generally support measures. They also want to make sure their tax dollars are well spent. And usually this is a way, so this Oversight Committee is a way to assure that individuals with expertise are taking this sort of the deep dive into the the finances. And I know sometimes for the actual staff involved, having that sort of oversight, somebody looking over your shoulder, sometimes can feel uncomfortable, a lot of questions. So I thank the library staff for supporting this work, because I think it is really an important accountability measure to the broader community. Generally, I love seeing, I'm a big fan of the green, yellow, red, and I love always seeing charts that have all the green that really shows, and I'm wondering if there should be a different color for like ahead of schedule. So, you always want your projects to be, this is having worked in a lot of facilities and construction-related projects, you always want to say like, on budget and on target and on time. And so this is actually like even better, it's not only on budget but ahead of time. So thank you for giving that assurance to the broader community. And this next comment is maybe for the library staff just going forward. I appreciate the Oversight Committee highlighting in places where the project fell short of our goals in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, and just thinking like knowing that, how that's going to inform our future work and our future projects, not just for other library projects, but just our other projects in general. So thank you for highlighting that. Again, I think we always should be examining how we, places where we didn't maybe hit our goals, that how that informs future work. And then the other piece, I want to share appreciation that in addition to the Oversight Committee, that we had an independent auditing firm, Baker Tilly, providing a financial audit, and that they found no significant issues in the fiscal year 2024 audit. So this is sort of like a belts and suspenders approach to the work. So thank you, everybody, and really to the library staff. My only complaint is that the last library in this bond is the Belmont Library to be completed, and it's my home library. But that's my only complaint, and the Oversight Committee doesn't have anything to do with the scheduling. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Commissioner Jones-Dixon.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Chair, and thank you all for just your commitment and your level of service to this process and to the project. And shout out to our staff as well. Never knew that auditing would be fun, and we proved that once again here in America's favorite county. Woohoo! And we should get a gold star. I'm beyond excited to your point. You mentioned that our libraries are a powerful force for equity, where everyone is welcome, and I'm seeing that firsthand over the last year and a half, serving on this board. So truly, thank you, and we're really looking forward to the East County Library opening up in just a month, I think, less than a month. And then the last comment I wanted to just highlight was the comment that you made from a community member that said, "I'm really blown away by how much of our asks were met with throughout all of the projects," and that's true. Like, for example, the East County Library, we have an auditorium now, a space, a community. I won't go through all of it because we'll see it and experience it. But I'm beyond honored because this is just another example and another assets that we provide to our community and why people choose to call Multnomah County home. And you all are a part of that. And we have an extra $25 million to invest in other things, which is great. So thank you again, and shout out to Director Lewis for your leadership. And one final thing, there's music on the steps of Downtown Library this afternoon for the first time, I think, from 12 until 2 p.m. So again, it's another example of us, another fabric, a piece of our fabric as far as enriching the community, and the library is a part of that. So that was a mouthful, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I will say, Commissioner, that I met with some of the small business owners around the West End and around the Central Library, and they're really excited about the music that's going to be happening on the steps. Yeah, so that's great. Everybody should get out and see that. So I just want to thank Nicole, Randall, Courtney, Susan, Baker Tilly. Thank you all for the work that you do for bringing us this report, for the diligence in this piece of it. I mean, this has been an incredible project for our community. It is amazing. I think the work that happened at the beginning to maximize the voters' investments for this, to maximize those dollars to enable us to have these extra dollars. I know that the Library Capital Bond program team is really excited about all the buyback work opportunities that we have there and what that means for you know, all the enhancements and extra projects that may have first been excluded but are going to be able to be done as a part of this. So we're excited for that too, and especially excited for the openings that are in front of us, including the East County Library opening, which will be happening in mid-May, which is going to be an incredible occasion. So thank you again for all your work and service, and we just really appreciate you. All right, with that, we are going to move on to the R5. Teja.
R5, budget modification number DA-003-26, FY 2026, MCDA, state and federal rebalance.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll motion.
Great, thank you. So Commissioner Singleton moved, Commissioner Moyer seconded.
Fantastic.
We are now on approval of R5. Hi, good morning. Oh, good afternoon. We crossed it.
Good afternoon, Chair and County Commissioners. My name is Jessica Eden. I'm the Business Service Manager for the District Attorney's Office. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm here to present our first of two budget modifications today. The District Attorney's Office is requesting board approval of budget modification MCDA-003-26 to rebalance federal and state grant revenue amounts from various sources. The rebalance increases fiscal year 2026 federal state program funds by $677,184, general fund appropriation by $72,926, and increases our FTE by 3.3. So this request is very similar to the requests you saw from other departments in the fall to rebalance grant funds. We waited until spring simply because we were waiting for funding decisions from numerous grantors, so it made more sense to bring it to you now. Most of the changes are small adjustments where the award amount varied slightly from the estimates in the adopted budget, but I do want to specifically mention three more substantive changes. The first is that MCDA received a grant from the Oregon Department of Transportation to support a 1.00 FTE deputy district attorney to work on cases related to repeat driving under the influence of intoxicants. This is the first of 3 years of the award period. The second is that MCDA received a new grant award from the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission, CJC, to continue work on organized retail theft. This is the second time we are receiving the grant, but the first of the 2 years of award for this particular award period. Lastly, while this is not a new award, we were informed during the fiscal year 2026 budget development process that the Victims of Crime Award would be substantially reduced. As it turns out, those reductions did not take place, so this budget modification reflects the actual award amount. In addition to these changes, this adds $20,073 to the general fund contingency for the county and increases the risk fund by $82,810 for insurance claims. I'm happy to take any questions on this budget modification at this time.
Thank you. Adam, are you just here for?
I'm just here for support.
Just for support, okay, great. We'll go to the board for any questions. I know, Jessica, I think this is your first time coming before the board. I know it can be a little intimidating, yes, but welcome, yeah. Commissioner Singleton, any questions?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the work on both of these bud mods. I know there's another one right after this. I just have one question, and this might be hard because it relates to the contingency ask, but it relates. Because there's additional dollars, were there savings then in general fund that could be realized to fill what I see in the contingency ask? Essentially, we got more money. What happened to the other money we were planning to use there? Can that help backfill that contingency ask that's coming up next?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. Adam Brown, Chief of Staff for the District Attorney. I use he, him pronouns. Coming this late in the fiscal year, we have a good idea of our rate of spending over the course of the year, and much of this information has been known and incorporated into our budget planning already. And so like with the Victims Assistance Program, for example, we had anticipated a reduction in that program of 22% coming into this fiscal year. We were, hoping the actual award wouldn't have that change materialize, so we hung on to those staff in July, August, September, got the new award amount, and it turns out we didn't have to reduce that program size, so we were able to sustain it. So in that case, it just allows us to maintain our current service level. And then with the other puts and takes, you heard about the more meaningful changes, including the addition of the Department of Transportation grant. That's a new position. And the other puts and takes don't meaningfully impact our overall bottom line. It's just small grant adjustments. So that's a long answer to your question, but the answer is no, it doesn't really impact that contingency request.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm always like, where can we save money? So I'm always going to ask that. And definitely not including the new program. It makes sense. You'll need new staff for a new program. So thank you for walking through that with me.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bram-Edwards, any questions?
Nope, I'm supportive of the changes.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
You made it. No questions. No additional questions.
You made it.
Do the presentation. Well,
Commissioner Moyer, any questions? No, I do not have any questions either. Did we have any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Moyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim-Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
yes, thank you.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Yes, the budget modification is approved. All right.
R6, budget modification number DA-004-26, bargaining and contingency request.
May I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, we've got Commissioner Singleton moving, Commissioner Jones-Dixon seconding approval of R6. All right, and I'm going to turn back over to y'all.
Good afternoon again, Madam Chair and County Commissioners. I'm Jessica Eden, the Business Services Manager for the District Attorney. With me here is Adam Brown, Chief of Staff for the District Attorney. I'm here today to present the District Attorney's bargaining contingency request. The DA's office is requesting board approval of budget modification MCDA-004-26 to provide $1,033,083 from general fund contingency to fund additional fiscal year 26 personnel expenses resulting from the recently ratified Multnomah County Prosecuting Attorney Association, MCPAA, and AFSCME Local 88 collective bargaining agreements. Both CBAs were ratified by the board during the 26 fiscal year after budget adoption. The two agreements combined cover approximately 90% of the district attorney's workforce and include personnel costs beyond what was incorporated into the fiscal year 2026 adopted budget. For MCPAA, the costs associated with this request are an additional 2% for COLA above the budgeted 2.4%, $2,500 in retention incentive, and changes to longevity premium. For Local 88, the costs associated with this request are associated with the $1 minimum for COLA and changes to bilingual pay from $4 an hour to $5 an hour. I will note that it is the county's general practice for departments to absorb costs associated with the new CBAs within their current year allocation, but in this case, we just don't have room in our budget. The district attorney's office historically spends over 98% of our general fund allocation, and we do expect for that trend to continue this year. We're happy to take questions at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll go to the board for questions. Commissioner Singleton.
Nope, asked mine in the last one. Thank you.
Commissioner Bram-Edwards.
No, I'm supportive.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon.
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Moyer.
Did the district attorney's office expect the results of collective bargaining to have cost less? I'm just trying to understand mechanically, since they knew that they were in collective bargaining, why there was the inability to absorb it. I'm just wondering, did the result of collective bargaining cost more than was anticipated, or how did that end up not being feasible to absorb?
Thank you, Commissioner. Adam Brown, Chief of Staff to the District Attorney. So The agreements with the Prosecuting Attorneys Association is a little bit different from Local 88 in that it's sort of a three-party agreement, right? You have the district attorney, you have the county, and you have the union. The district attorney's office in both, for both agreements, largely defers to labor relations to negotiate on behalf of the county. And so we trust that labor relations is negotiating the best agreement for both the county and our employees, and trust the relative costs are costs that the county can afford to fund. So, we were deferential during those processes, and our current year spending didn't really weigh in. We know that anytime you go into collective bargaining, there is a chance that the cost of the agreement will cost the organization more than what we had planned for, and then we manage that accordingly. The county generally asks that departments absorb those costs within their existing allocation. In this case, we can't, so we're requesting contingency, and then future year costs are baked into our budget.
I think this is another example of why I think the county needs to have a conversation about creating wage and benefit reserves. I think it is unrealistic to ask departments to project results of collective bargaining when they are not necessarily even at the table, let alone not in a position to accurately cost out what is likely the result. I think that is an organizational-wide conversation, and I don't like having to modify budgets after we pass them so much because we didn't account for a known. We knew we would have collective bargaining agreements. I don't think we knew. No one knows exactly, but I think, in my many years of experience with collective bargaining, you generally know what you're bargaining over. I think it's problematic that we don't. And I think it's really very difficult to ask departments to adjust to results of which they are not intimately involved and can't really plan for. So that's my 2 cents on I would love us to over time create a wage and benefit reserve so that it does not bring instability to departments, particularly over midway through a fiscal year. Thanks.
And Commissioner, I just want to respond to one thing. We were intimately involved in the MCPA bargaining, so my response wasn't to suggest that these things weren't within our control. We were deferring to sort of the expertise of labor relations on collective bargaining process, what is reasonable for the county to provide for employees under the terms of the contract. So we were involved. I just wanted to make that clear because that partnership is really valuable to our office, and we appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Singleton. Oh, you already went. All right, we're good. We're done. Okay, thank you. Did we have any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, let's go ahead and have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Commissioner Jones Dixon?
Yeah. Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Yes, the budget modification is approved. Great. Thank you. We will move on to R7.
R7, Vance Vision Nature and Neighborhoods Notice of Intent.
May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Jones Dixon moves, Commissioner Brim Edwards seconds, approval of R7. So I will just note we have about 5 items left, and it is 12:16, so we're going to keep rolling. But if folks need to take a little break, feel free. Good afternoon.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members of the Multnomah County Board of Commissioners.
I missed who moved and who seconded.
Oh,
thank you.
Oh, did I not say that? Sorry. I was trying to move this ahead. Yeah, I did say it. Yeah, okay. Okay. Great. So we're on approval of R7. I will, Commissioner Jones-Dixon, did you have opening remarks for this item?
I do, and I just want to say thank you to the team, the Vance Park, just getting this update. It's a full circle moment for not only myself, but for the community as well. I was one of the first community liaisons that helped or provided feedback back in 2019, I think it was, when I had longer hair and a little bit of a beard. And yeah, it was it's a weird picture. I'll share it with you guys later. But very much looking forward to the presentation in the future. It's great to get bring the board up to speed. Thank you for your commitment and additionally just moving the work forward and honoring the input that's been given, and then collectively working with just my office as far as bringing this to life and the city of Gresham. So without further ado, Brett.
All right, well, thank you guys both for being here. I will turn it over to Taylor and Brett.
Good morning, and I was just going to say we'll be as fast as we can today, knowing the schedule, so thank you for that. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself and let Brett introduce himself as well. My name is Taylor Steenblock, she, her pronouns. I'm the Strategic Initiatives Manager in the DCS Director's Office and Co-Project Manager for the Vance Vision.
Good morning, Brett Toddy. I'm a project manager and lead with the Facilities and Property Management Division's Strategic Projects Planning and Real Estate team, and co-project manager on this project with Taylor. So good morning, Commissioner and Chair. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next slide. Thank you. So I'll just spend 2 seconds acclimating everybody to what the Vance Vision is. We haven't actually been full force in front of the board since March of 2022, when then Commissioner Stegman was introducing the vision to the board. So if you look at this map, when you're standing to the north of the property, you'll see 190th on your left, 182nd on your right. It's really in the heart of the Rockwood and Centennial neighborhoods. And we'll be talking today about Zone B, that middle section, which is in the vision slated to be a park. And there's a very specific reason for why we decided to go with a park for Zone B, and then why we decided to start with a park. In public engagement, we heard loud and clear that the public didn't want to lose access to green space as we started to develop and reimagine and reuse this property. So current day Vance Park is located in mostly Zone C, and we decided, because of what we heard in community engagement, to really dig in on the park as the first step in redeveloping all 3 zones. Next slide.
And with that, just to further Taylor's orientation of the properties themselves, so map has changed a little bit. We are now looking north or southeast, and so just to kind of give a quick layout of how the properties are used today. To the top of this map is the Yon building, where certainly roads, transportation, as well as fleet and records and others are located for county services. The properties central in this area are used by our Roads and Transportation Division for stockpiling of materials, their equipment storage, and other product storage as well as trainings and other activities. And then to the bottom of the slide here, or the bottom of the image here, is Vance Park, which is presently within the City of Gresham's Parks program. It is a property that's owned by Multnomah County but operated by Gresham Parks, and is open and a community park today, fronts along 182nd Avenue. So characteristics of the property as labeled here is the properties were used as a quarry to quarry aggregate for roads construction for decades. And so presently, they are left in somewhat of that state after those types of activities. There's what's referred to as the pit. It's a low element of this area. And there are sections of the property that were and used as landfill and presently contain that landfill debris. Those are shown here in the hatched areas as well, or hatched areas. So just wanted to kind of give that overall of what are the Vance properties, how are they presently being used, and just share that with you all. Next slide, please.
All right, so just a few things about the proposal in front of you today. Again, we're going to be talking specifically about the park. In public engagement, we heard a lot of interest in things like community gathering space, covered basketball courts, futsal courts, and preserving the access to disc golf that's on the property today. We also heard a lot of interest in finalizing the regional trail connectivity. If you look at the Vance property on a map, it almost looks like the missing puzzle piece to the Gresham Trail network. You'll have the Gresham Fairview Trail coming in, also access from Rockwood Market Hall, and all of that has the potential to connect across 182nd Avenue to the Portland Greenway network. So we're really excited about both the recreational and community opportunities at the space, but also that transportation and multimodal connectivity aspect as well. There are a couple of reasons why we are looking at a park as the intended use for this, aside from the interest in public engagement. One of those is that the current day zoning supports that use on the property. Another is that because of this property's history as both a landfill and an excavation quarry, it's a common repurposing to use the space as a park as opposed to continuing to use it for those industrial uses and then return the park to the community for community benefit. So we're working closely with many different rounds of public engagement and focus groups, and we've heard a lot about the need for a park. In addition, we know that the Regional Equity Atlas highlights that there's a significantly higher population of youth in the area compared to the rest of the county and a lower access to parks and green space. So we've engaged youth quite a lot on this project, and they're all very excited about potentially having more recreation space. And also the 2023 Heat Watch report noted that Rockwood and Centennial have a lower than average tree cover and nature network, which contributes to higher temperatures in these neighborhoods and then adverse health impacts. So we're really looking at ways that we can improve the overall quality of life for residents in the Rockwood and Centennial neighborhoods. Next slide.
Next slide, please. These are some images of the present state of the property. Just for orientation, the upper left image is pathway in the existing Vance Park. Today, you'll see a stand of mature trees that are accessible to the public today. On the right-hand side is from an image taken from that lowest level in the pit or the quarried area, looking back up to that mature stand of trees. And you'll see the feature of an embankment. It ranges anywhere from 25 to 45 feet in elevation differences and creates a safety concern as well as just a barrier for those properties today. And then some other images, again, of the Vance Park. And there is community gardens and other uses that are presently in that park and supported by the community as a whole. Next slide, please.
Just a few more pictures, the more industrial part of the property that we'll be addressing. So up on the upper right-hand side is the drop-off over that pit. So for those Park and Rec fans, we're literally talking about turning a pit into a park, which is always a fun aspect of this project. But also DCS does have a lot of industrial uses that are present today. So we'll be working with our divisions in DCS to make sure that as we develop the space, we can still meet those community needs. Next slide.
I think Taylor's already referenced this. There was a large community engagement element in the Vance visioning efforts, and through that we had a community leadership team, roughly about 12 individuals that live in and around the Rockwood Centennial neighborhood, really representing communities of color, the underrepresented voices often that aren't brought to these processes were brought intentionally to that, and that's who really was that cohort of 12 individuals that we engaged with directly. They led a community survey themselves that resulted in about 159 responses. And through that, heard the consistency, as Taylor had mentioned, in housing, park, access to recreation, access to nature, access to jobs and training as well. And then one of that cohort happened to be a teacher, or happens to be a teacher at the Gresham High School. And so with their help, we were able to survey youth at the Gresham High School and get feedback from that, which again, very similar themes of uses. Obviously, recreation and access to sports was higher in that survey, but just wanted to share with you all on that. Next slide, please.
Really quickly, if you do disaggregate the data that we have from our virtual open house, you can see, particularly with BIPOC communities, that safe and affordable housing, job opportunities, and affordable childcare were also really important considerations at the property, which is why we looked at the vision as a whole. The park really is the anchor project to make sure that we can accomplish all of these things that we've heard in public engagement. And safety will continue to be a theme. Next slide. So we are before you today talking about the Nature and Neighborhoods Capital Grants. We are really excited to come to you, hopefully, to propose a $2 million grant from the Nature and Neighborhoods Capital Program, which comes from the 2019 Parks and Nature Bond that finally brought some resources much needed to the region to start investing in our parks and nature assets across all of Metro. This particular program is focused on urban transformation, and we really feel like the Vance Vision Project is a unique generational opportunity to have a major urban transformation in the Rockwood and Centennial neighborhood. Next slide. Quickly, what this grant would fund would be the design for the site, and then also environmental, stormwater, and engineering considerations, which we have many of them at the site, as I'm sure you can imagine. And then construction, we'll be looking at a lot of habitat restoration, so tree planting, native habitat, pollinator meadow, and then addressing the heat island effects in East County, as I also talked about with the 2023 Heat Watch report. Next slide. So our request before you today is approval to submit this grant application for $2 million to fund the first step of park development at Vance.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the presentation. It's always good to check in on where we are with the Vance Vision project, and this is such a great opportunity. Did we have any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from the board about this? All right, Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you all for the work, and I just really appreciate how you're always threading what community said to how we're showing up in applying for grants. I just had one question. You had some of the pieces that you broke out of BIPOC communities in particular, and I know this grant isn't about affordable housing, but I'm unclear on if there is strategies moving forward, since that was such a high percentage around a need, and I was actually kind of moved by how many youth also identified affordable housing as a need in that community. And if we have funding sources identified, if not, I get it, it could be another part, but just want to make sure we're not losing sight of some of those BIPOC specific requests.
Yes, absolutely, Chair, Commissioner Singleton. So we do have a portion of the property that is set aside for affordable housing, and we're designing the park so that hopefully we can integrate it effectively with whatever affordable housing does go there in the future. As I'm sure you understand, funding for affordable housing right now is challenging, so we haven't secured anything for that just yet. But we wanted to make sure that while we're working on developing the new Vance Park, we preserve the green space and what would be in the future reserved for affordable housing as green space today. So we're phasing the project, but we absolutely have not lost sight of it. And the hope is that by creating a park as an anchor for the project as a whole, we can also make it a safer and more appealing place for people to live once we do have that affordable housing in place.
I love that. And the piece I'll say is just thinking about the potential future utility needs. It would be a shame to have to rip up stuff that you put in now if there's a need for additional sewer or something like that to accommodate affordable housing. So I just wanted to put that piece out there. And then just even in this grant, if we get it, which I really hope that we do, I'd love for us to look at opportunities for local hiring preferences, to really making sure that we have workforce opportunities for folks in the construction and development of this parcel as well. So that would be my one ask. Thank you. I'm very supportive.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just have a comment.
Sure.
So this isn't what the presentation is about, but I'm looking forward to the 190th Employment Corridor plans. Love to hear from Commissioner Jones-Hickson about that. To this specific grant, I am excited about this because once before in my professional life, I had an opportunity. It was a little bit scary because I was on the OSU Board of Trustees, and we were developing the Cascade campus, and there was a landfill and pumice mine right next to the OSU Cascades campus site that they offered to the Board of Trustees for $1. It was 46 acres, so it's similar, it's very similar, it's like in size in terms of this. And, you know, anytime somebody offers you something for $1, you have to ask a question, like what am I getting? Just the risks involved with, again, a landfill, it was mostly construction landfill. But it's amazing, and it had like very steep walls. I'm just looking at the pictures here. There's a very, you know, lots of similarities just in terms of the size. And OSU was looking at how do we make this part of the overall campus versus a landfill and a pumice mine. So we did vote to buy the property. And last June, I stood in that property. You would never have known it was a former pumice mine and landfill because that's where we had the graduation for the OSU Cascades campus. They've completely reclaimed it. And it's a beautiful part of the campus. So you can take something that is like, is this an asset or a liability that we're getting, and turn that, what may be perceived as a liability, into a beautiful asset for the community. So I can see the vision in this whole project, and I'm hopeful we'll get the grant.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Jones-Dixon, any final words?
Yes, and wait, there's more as it pertains to the vision. We'll just remain focused on the park side. So I'm supportive of everything, as you know, that she presented so far, and then also just want to flag just the continual participation and engagement with the city, our city partners, as far as the city of Gresham, and we'll share more about the 190th corridor here in the near future. So thank you.
Thank you. I just want to wish you luck in getting this grant. It would be a great boon to the project and moving this work forward. So best of luck on the application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tasia, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Yes, the notice of intent is approved.
Thank you so much.
R8, budget modification number HD-020-26, appropriation of $237,497 for CFAA, civil commitment, and aid and assist.
All right, may I have a motion? Second. Okay, so Commissioner Jones-Dixon moves. Everybody seconded, so we'll go with Commissioner Moyer, approval of R8. And I will say this is the first of 4 budget modifications from the Health Department that we have in front of us today, so I will turn it over to them so that we can move through those. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Commissioners, Chair. Maybe we could go to the next one. So,
Do you need next slide, or is this the wrong one?
oh, please, perfect. So our House Bill 2005 allocated funds for the community mental health programs to assist with the additional requirements in civil commitment and aid and assist. We estimate the work to increase by about 25%. We're starting to see that through many different ways with our court hearings and the way we're gathering evidence and the roles of our investigators. And this budget modification is to finally add the funds that were allocated for this current fiscal year by the legislature that has been amended to us by Oregon Health Authority. Next slide, please. And mainly our roles with coordinated diversion and aid and assist is to provide assessments and evaluations for the court to determine what supports we can provide to someone who is involved in a criminal case, but their symptoms make it difficult for them to participate. And our staff provide assessments for the court and support an individual to competence. Next slide, please. Under civil commitment, we have several responsibilities to provide investigations for every notice of mental illness and to support the court hearings that may occur if someone is found to have present with probable cause for the court to determine if they meet criteria for civil commitment. As well, our staff are required to provide monitoring for all individuals who are placed by the court under civil commitment. Next slide, please.
And good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Brady Estevez. I'm the Finance Manager for Behavioral Health and Corrections Health. I use he, him pronouns. This budget modification increases funding in two program offers, Program Offer 40088 and Program Offer 40072. And Program Offer 40088, it's being increased by $59,000 to support personnel expenses in FY26. And also in Program Offer 40072 is being increased by $178,000 to also increase corresponding personnel expenses. Next slide, please. Also, additionally, the DCM Risk Management Insurance Fund is increasing by about $48,970. Next slide, please. This modification supports the addition of positions for the final 4 months of FY26. All of these positions are all fully budgeted in FY27. Next slide, please. These are all the positions by program offer and the amount of FTE being allocated in FY26. Next slide, please. Thank you, and we're open to questions.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys being here. Did we have any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from the board on this budget modification? Commissioner Singleton. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you all. I have one question. In Program Offer 40088, it talks about the number of services. It says services, treatment, and housing for individuals in order to participate in community-based care management. Can you all define what we mean by housing there, or are there program folks that need to do follow-up? And I ask because doing more if we don't actually have the housing that you need is going to be really hard.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Singleton. Exactly. The largest struggle we face is finding a place safe and supportive for individuals who are going through the community restoration process to live and to stay, as well as once they've been restored to competence, where can they live then and thrive in the community? And that is our largest struggle.
Can I ask a follow-up question to your question? So we just met with Cascadia Partners last week, and they were talking about step-down programs and housing, and I wonder how that connection was.
I'm smiling because Jay and I know each other from Cascadia, so I'm like.
How is our work intersecting with them as we're thinking through like placements and opportunities for our neighbors that need support in our transitioning?
Yes.
Or does that exist? I guess that's my question.
Ideally, every individual we are providing support to has a treatment provider, whether at the appropriate level of care, and ideally in the lowest required. So we're not placing individuals into involuntary or acute levels of care that don't need it. We work very closely with Cascadia, and we have limited funding from the state to support supportive housing for individuals while they are involved in community restoration. What we struggle with is ongoing resources. So we do rely very heavily on our treatment providers and our CCOs to coordinate care organizations to support this work.
Thank you.
So I would just ask that there be follow-up on the housing, how we're defining that for this population, and what the barriers are to some of those. I'm going to be supportive today, but would like that as follow-up because I think it's an important conversation for us to have as we start looking at fiscal year 27. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Moyer.
Yeah, can you explain what the purpose of aid and assist services and specifically community restoration is under statute?
Of course. Thank you, Commissioner. Whenever an individual is accused of a crime or a misdemeanor and the court determines that their symptoms make them unable to participate in their own defense, the community mental health program is required to provide an evaluation, meet with the individual, and advise the court on what services and supports are available in the community to support them to competence so that their criminal case can resolve or can resume and then hopefully resolve.
And would you call aid and assist services or community restoration healthcare? I mean, is this services for the purpose of an individual to be successful in the community, or would it meet clinical standard of care versus a lower standard for a purpose not directly related to the best interests of the individual? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Maybe that was a little.
Yes, it would not meet the clinical standards for care. By definition, much of the service is to support the individual to be successful with their court case. We would depend on our treatment providers as we link someone to the right level of care to support them in the community so that they can move on to what they want to do.
And
it is important, though. Oh, sorry. It is important to note that it is not treatment. It is a legal service that we are required to provide.
Within, when the court orders somebody to receive services in order to be competent, are those services traditionally able to be funded through Medicaid?
Yes, Commissioner, for a good amount of them, yes.
Okay.
As well as through the Oregon Health Authority for individuals who are in need of a residential or secure residential level of care. Those are typically contracted directly by Oregon Health Authority.
Then I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on what can and cannot. The Oregon Health Authority pays for it, but a good chunk of that is not Medicaid eligible because it is, again, not standard of care, and its purpose is for a criminal justice purpose and not restorative in the sense of healthcare. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because this issue is going to come up over and over again. I think you alluded that there are many other costs associated with community restoration and our aid and assist population that are not being receiving adequate funding, housing being a huge one of those. And I think this is an example of my incredible frustration with the state of Oregon and where they are putting their priorities and where they are making counties focus, which I think you alluded to it a little bit. Just to be clear, community restoration is an alternative to going to the Oregon State Hospital, which is currently lower level crimes, primarily misdemeanors, which, you know, I'm not our district attorney. I beg the question, the value of prosecuting people with severe mental illness who are not competent to aid and assist in their own defense, exactly what the public safety priority is in prosecuting that, but that's not my decision. What I do have significant concerns is this is coming out of our CFAA dollars, which again, as a whole, are incredibly inadequate for what we are asked to do, but we are being further told by the state of Oregon that we have to focus those very limited resources that fund our community behavioral health system on services that are not healthcare services. They're not. There are components that are healthcare, but the purpose of aid and assist and our piece, both the evaluation and community restoration, which are those whose crimes are not severe enough to be sent to the Oregon State Hospital, is for the purpose of prosecution. So that is what the state of Oregon is telling counties, is how they think we need to exercise our role as local mental health authorities. And it's going to get worse because the state is not going to get in compliance with the rights of individuals to be transferred to the state hospital within 7 days of being found unable to aid and assist. So more and more people will be referred to community restoration with more serious charges. I do not anticipate, although I would love to be wrong, that we will see a corresponding amount of resources being sent to us. And I do not understand the unbelievable lack of resources that we are given and our CCOs are given to preventing people from getting so ill that they are having engagement with our law enforcement. That is a very sad indictment of how Oregon views the needs of people with severe mental illness. That we are literally funding nothing but either involuntary treatment with almost no voluntary treatment available, or we will serve you for the sole purpose of prosecuting you for the crime you committed while unable to be competent. I'll approve this because obviously we have to do the work, but I am disgusted by the priorities of the state of Oregon. And every day my district asks me, I see people in crisis. What are we doing? What are we doing? And the state of Oregon is telling us this is all you do. And then they want to blame us for this, and it's appalling. I don't blame you. You're doing great work. Add as many possible services as humanly possible for people, but like, I am just at a total loss for the state of Oregon. I don't understand what they think the results of this are going to be.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, and I appreciate the continued advocacy you do on this issue. It's been an ongoing conversation. Any questions down here?
No.
You had your follow-up question. No?
No, we have work to do. I do have a comment, just a comment.
Please go ahead.
Luckily, we have the legislative, our priorities coming up, and we should work on a plan on how to approach the state on all of these things. And I definitely appreciate your passion and your understanding and your advocacy. So looking forward to fixing this huge, huge problem and figuring out a stopgap for now, between now and then. So thank you, Commissioner Moyer. And team.
Yeah, and thanks, Jay and Brady, and you get to be the recipients of the passion that this board has, but it's, but I know, like, from my conversations that I've had with y'all, with health leadership, like, we share this concern about how we are able to show up in the ways we know are the right ways for our community and the needs that we have, and it was an ongoing saga with the state of Oregon to get this CEFA agreement reached. I know our employees, I know this county will do the best we can with the resources we have to show up for people in the right way, and sometimes our hands are tied in our ability to do that. But it is also one of the reasons why the county has continued to do allocations out of our general fund dollars so we're able to do this. But when we look for partnership with the state and we don't have that, that does put more pressure on what we are going to have to take on as the county. So anyway. Thank you for being here for this one. May we have a roll call vote, Tasia?
Commissioner Moyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye, the budget modification is approved. All right.
R9.
Thank you.
Budget modification number HD-022-26, appropriation of $1,456,570,000 for CFAA Residential Part C.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon moves, Commissioner Brim Edwards seconds, approval of this one. This one. I just changed my tab. R9.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Fallis. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the interim finance manager for the Behavioral Health Division. I'll be starting to walk us through. If you could give us the next slide. So this is an appropriation of $1,456,570 from OHA through the CFAA to support contractual agreements of the residential treatment facilities in Multnomah County. These are all pass-through funds that we get from the state as part of the state's approval. This is a one-time only increase to match what we expect on an ongoing basis. And as you can see, there's been a significant increase in the amount of clients that we've served per month. Next slide.
Good afternoon, Barb Snow, she, her, hers. I'm the Senior Manager of Safety Net Services for Behavioral Health. So our residential services program supports the statewide system of care for individuals in need of behavioral health housing. This includes licensed secure and non-secure programs, as well as a handful of non-licensed, mostly certified as community-based structured housing programs, and a smattering of beds across adult care homes, adult foster homes, IDD homes, and the like. With the addition of the 8 facilities in the last 3 months, we now have over 760 beds. About 66% of those beds are Multnomah County residents. At the time that they enter, they all become Multnomah County residents, clearly, when they're in the homes. And yeah, this money is to support the participants that rely on the non-Medicaid funding for those placements. Next slide.
So this budget modification increases our federal and state revenue by $1.4 million in FY26, with the corresponding $1.4 million being passed through in expenditures with the provider. Next slide, please. We're open to questions.
All right, thank you so much. Any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, any questions on this item? Commissioner Moyer.
Of these expanded bed capacity, how many are available for county referral versus placed by the Oregon Health Authority under PSRB?
So they're all available with, when we talk about the licensed RTHs, RTFs, and SRTFs, they're all available via the same process that OHA legislates. So it's open to any participant who fills out the referral and the application and meets their waitlist criteria. So they have, our Multnomah County residents have the same access as any resident from across the state through that process. It's a statewide system. Does that make sense? Did I answer?
Yes. Okay, and is that process run by CoMagin? It's not.
No, CoMagin does the evaluations for medical
for the
eligibility. Yes, thank you. But the referral process is dictated through the OARs, and the waitlist process is dictated through the OARs.
Why are they running contracts through us? We don't set the rate. We don't, is the Oregon Health Authority incapable of executing a contract with a provider?
I can't say that for certain.
Yeah.
But there are
Yes, it is.
certain providers that do have direct contracts from the state, and then these ones we manage. I'm not fully clear of the history of why the county managed them versus the state directly. But some of the new providers do have direct state contracts as well.
Other than passing through money, do we have a responsibility?
Yes, we have a responsibility in terms of the health and safety oversight of the facilities. And then there are particular aspects of the work in the rules that we are responsible for as well. So monitoring and keeping track of critical incidences, handling variances, and other items.
Why are we not charging an administrative fee to the state of Oregon?
I can't say particularly. I think it's part of, we view it as part of the CFA in general, supporting the residential program and residential team, as well as the individuals that are supporting these specific invoicing and contracting processes.
Do we get an increased amount of funding proportionate to the growth of beds for these functions?
Probably not. I would not think so.
No, it's, some of what we're required is embedded within the CFA, so we are using CFA funds to pay for some of these positions that are doing this work. But with the changes in the CFA, there's not a clear dedication of these funds for this outside of the clear dedication of funds for pass-through for residential.
Okay, I think that's worth thinking about since the state wants to nickel and dime us, that we might need to make sure they're picking up the true cost of their burden.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Singleton?
Oh, I was just kind of being the peanut gallery and saying we should reciprocate. I think it's a good, I mean, they're good questions, and it feels like there's a lot that is us showing up to do something to help the state when they're struggling, and this isn't the first time that we've had something before us with the health department and a pass-through, so I really appreciate the lens of how can we actually both show up as partners and agree that there's some really robust state agenda that we need to have around this, so it's not left to you all as a department to try and do on each individual thing that comes up, but that we're thinking about it holistically as a government jurisdiction and how we want to show up with the state and the ask that we need. Because I think we want to continue to be partners and do things like pass through, but a partnership requires more than one party.
Great, thank you. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys bringing this one forward. We will go ahead and actually, all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Okay, great. This is, the budget modification is approved.
Is that 10?
That was 9, now we're going to 10.
R10, budget modification number HD-023-26, appropriation of $223,496 for peer services, wraparound care coordination for children and families.
May I have a motion? So moved. Commissioner Singleton moves, Commissioner Jones-Dickson seconds, approval of R10. Good afternoon.
Should I wait for the slides? All right, good afternoon. My name is Jessica Jacobson. I'm an interim deputy director with our Behavioral Health Division. Thank you for having us. We can go to the next slide. So this is a request for an appropriation of $223,496. It is passed through from Care Oregon to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI, to provide peer services, specifically the peer partner services that are associated with our Multnomah County's wraparound program. Next slide. So program offer 40081 is our Multnomah County Care Coordination Program. Part of that program is the wraparound program, which NAMI partners with. It's a specialized peer service that is family partners that's available to any family that's enrolled in the service. Wraparound in Multnomah County serves families that are enrolled in the Oregon Health Plan through our local CCO partners. This request will not result in an increase in services, but it is going to streamline the process for our vendor and the contract. This change was initiated at Care Oregon's request, and we are in agreement with it. Next slide.
All right, so this budget modification reflects an increase of $223,000 in federal and state revenue for FY26, with a corresponding $223,000 increase in our pass-through expenditures or services. These funds will be added to the current contract, as Jessica mentioned, with the provider and represent ongoing funding. And then this modification is reflective of FY26 amounts. Next slide, please.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Moyer.
I have to do a vote explanation, because I am voting no on this, and I think people will be like, why in the world is Megan voting no? One, this is peer support to families, which I am for. I do not support NAMI having this contract. I believe that their advocacy on 2005 was incredibly irresponsible, and they knew full well we didn't have the capacity for the changes that they championed and supported that materially are harming people with mental illness. We have people who cannot access hospital level of care, which they knew about, and yet supported expanding the civil commitment statute, even though they claimed that they would not support it if there was not an expansion of service. There was not, and yet that bill never would have passed without their advocacy. I do not think they act in the best interest of individuals with mental illness always, and I think we got to be honest. There's a difference between advocating for families and advocating for people with disabilities. I'm sure Chris is going to give me a ring if he sees this, but I can't support passing money on to NAMI.
Thank you. Did you have a response?
Can I just provide one piece of clarification? I know that NAMI is part of a larger organization, but I do want to be specific that our contract is with NAMI Multnomah, not the larger state organization.
Never
so
mind.
I just want to make sure that you know that.
But never mind. Okay, that is a difference that I clearly missed, and I take it back.
Isn't that Rosanna Dan? But it may change your vote. I don't know. Okay, any other questions, comments?
I just had one question. I'm unclear on how the additional dollars is not resulting in additional services, and it just kind of says it will streamline funding, and I just don't quite understand what that means.
Absolutely. A couple of years ago, the service levels were increased with NAMI, and Care Oregon created its own contract with NAMI Multnomah for those services. And basically what we're doing is just pulling that funding into our contract, which is the larger contract to begin with, to make things simpler for the vendor, and also to make sure that the contract language doesn't differ, because there were some funky differences in our contract language that made things difficult. So it's just to make things simpler. But it was a couple of years ago that this additional service was added to the system.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All of those, are we going to have, do we need a roll call vote? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. The budget modification is approved.
R11, budget modification number HD-024-26, deflection program, City of Portland revenue loss.
All right, may I have a motion? So moved. Commissioner Singleton moves, Commissioner Brim Edwards seconds, approval of R11. All right, good afternoon, hello.
Is it good afternoon yet? Oh, good afternoon. Yes. Anyway, my name is Anthony Jordan. I'm the Interim Behavioral Health Director. Next slide. This budget mod is to reduce the appropriation of $1.9 million from the City of Portland, intended to support the Coordinated Care Pathway Center, sobering services, transportation, and direct client assistance. Next slide. The Coordinated Pathway Center operates 24/7 to provide deflection and sobering services. Deflection services include medical and behavioral health screenings, care coordination, peer support, referrals to basic need, and transportation support. Sobering services includes observation, access to comfort medication, peer support, discharge planning with referrals, and transportation to services. Individuals in deflection may opt into sobering services. All current operations would be moved to the permanent sobering and crisis stabilization facilities in the fall of 2027. Withdrawal management and medication-assisted treatment would also be provided at that time. Next slide. The loss of the City of Portland funding impact individuals that come to the center for both deflection and sobering. The anticipated $1.9 million in funds would have helped to increase sobering utilization and to improve deflection clients' outcome through outreach and transportation to the Pathway Center. Next slide. This budget mod reduces the appropriation of pass-through for sobering operation by $1 million, and the appropriation for direct client assistance, including transportation, by $900,000. City funds are also budgeted in FY27. If funding is not received next fiscal year, ongoing programming impacts could include the inability to expand services unless another funding source is found. Next slide. Any questions?
All right, thank you. Do we have any public testimony on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments from the board?
I should have a comment.
Commissioner Brim Edwards.
So I view this as somewhat a perfunctory vote because we've known for some time that they weren't going to put their money in. And I've also already done my pounding of the city, both the mayor and the council, for not putting this in their budget last year. As we all know, this sobering was a city-provided service that they stopped in 2019. So I very much view them as needing to be partners in this. Again, I did my pounding already and let them know that I feel like this is a combined, really important that both the city and the county provide ongoing support, because the we know different parts of both the city and the county of our systems rely on having those services. And the city was, when we created the sobering and the crisis stabilization center, the permanent plan, the city was very involved in all those discussions. The final plans reflect many of the things that they indicated that they felt were important to be included. And so, again, I feel like this is an obligation of the city, and for sure, and again, it's both the mayor and the council recognizing this is an important service, not just to the county, but also to the city as well. So I'm going to support this. Again, I think it's relatively perfunctory because we knew long ago that they, or early in the budget cycle, that they didn't put money in.
Thank you.
You were hopeful, though.
I mean, we make budget modifications all year round, and this was also something that they can do, but I think we're at a place now where we need to recognize that these dollars aren't coming for 26 and acknowledge that there is an opportunity in 27 to change what's happening. Commissioner Singleton?
Thank you, Chair. This can be in follow-up, but I would love some specifics on the numbers of folks who will be impacted when you say there's impact to capacity in providing expanded outreach services, transportation, direct client assistance. So if you can send that to me later, that would be great. Also, welcome back. Good to see you. And then, honestly, the piece around it being budgeted in FY27, my notes literally say why, and what's the saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I don't feel that hopeful about the city of Portland giving dollars for this when we've heard very clearly from executive leadership there that they don't plan to invest the dollars that are in the IGA regarding homeless services. So I don't feel as hopeful about these dollars coming for FY26 and or 27, and hope that we're doing planning around that. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? All right, Tasia, can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Moyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Brim Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones-Dixon?
Yes.
Chair Vega Peterson?
Aye, the budget modification is approved. All right, so that takes us to the end of the agenda today. We are going to forego board comments because of the hour. That concludes today's regular board meeting. There being no further business, we are adjourned.